So you wanna make a Lego game using some big property, but you already did Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and Lord of the Rings. Well, I think there's still one option that you've yet to explore. It's the series about a girl and her robotic dinosaurs. Now I know what you're all thinking, hey, isn't this a bit of a stretch? Horizon's fan base has been shrinking. It might be pretty, but there's always a catch. I've only met one person in my whole damn life who had an insatiable Horizon appetite. Everybody else doesn't care that much, but Herman Hulse doesn't really give a fuck. So here you go, world, it's Horizon again. If you got money, it's time to spend. It's got multiplayer, find a friend. Ooh, open up your mouth, girl, let me pour some Horizon in. It's sweet like honey, so give us all your money. Oh wait, oh fuck, no one's buying the game. I thought Horizon was as cool as Star Wars. I guess it turns out it's just kinda lame. Ooh, holy crap, oh no, why doesn't anybody care? Horizon is just as cool as all those other Lego games. Even though the evidence makes it seem like it's irrelevant, Lego Horizon flopped. I'm not sure why they bothered trying. All of its fans must have been lying. Lego Horizon flopped, Horizon. Guess Sony is gonna have to try again. Skeep-a-doop-bop-boop, deep-a-deep-a-doo-da, robo-dino, skip-bop, skip-bop, deep-a-deep-a-deep-a-boo-bop, going till the doo-da-beep-bop-a-noo-ta. Horizon should never had a Lego game. Whoever greenlit that must have been fucking insane. Lego Horizon flopped. I'm not sure why they bothered trying. All of its fans must have been lying. Lego Horizon flopped, Horizon. Guess Sony is gonna have to try again. Sorry Herman Hulse, guess you didn't make a new Star Wars after all. Sorry Herman Hulse, just another day of ya dropping the ball.
That's most definitely what's up.
Imagine a hero shooter where the hero never showed.
I'm vibing!
Imagine a game with a player base that just refused to grow.
16 times the detail.
A 5v5 hero shooter with gameplay that's just okay. And characters that remind me of Tupperware and white bread.
Catch me outside, how about that?
No, I'm not talking about Overwatch. Please stop bringing up Overwatch.
I'm vibing!
This game is not Overwatch. It's actually something else. Imagine a game with a story that no one watches. A game that costs $40 that Sony totally botches. It has all my favorite characters, like Lemmy, Dawn, and Craig. At least, I think that's what their names are. I never bothered to check. Concord like the grave, your legacy is safe. As a game that no one played, and a price that no one paid. Boop-a-doop-ba, keep-a-doop-da, scoop-a-boop-ba, beep-beep-beep-beep-beep, phlegm. Concord was about as good as accidentally peeing on your own leg. Concord, we're here to lay you to rest. We know you tried your best. You copied so much cool stuff just to turn out lame in the end. I'll never forget my favorite moments, like when Hot Sauce Guy jumped. Remember when he jumped? That was really cool. A rat just ran by on my desk, and even the rat didn't want to play Concord, even though I blessed him with the chance. The $40 he could afford, but the rat just stared on in a trance. rat, 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 rat. Concord's dead. Rat, 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 rat. Concord's dead. The Costco guys made more money than you. They were just on Jimmy Fallon too. Imagine Lennox being on Jimmy Fallon, because I literally can't. The rat on my desk is eating all my Cheerios and grapes. And also Concord is dead. Concord like the grave. Your legacy is safe as a game that no one played, and a price that no one paid. Rat-a-ta-ta beep-a-da boop. Skim milk, the rat freak, doo-da, doo-da. A guy said he really liked it, and then a bunch of rats ate his face. That's the sound he made when Concord passed away. I wish things turned out different, but either way I'm getting paid. Concord's dead, Concord's dead, and boy is my face red. When the game came out, everybody overslept. Concord's dead, Concord's dead. Holy crap, Lois, Concord's dead. When the game out, people played everything else instead.
Good morning, everyone. I'm back. It's been too long. I've missed you. I don't know if you've missed me. Maybe it was a much needed break. But I'm here, shaggy as ever, ready to talk some games. You'll notice the studio is in a bit of disarray. This is normally back there. We normally have extra lights and stuff. I've actually had everything pulled away while I've been gone the last 2-something weeks on vacation, because we're doing a bunch of work in the house. Actually, on the other side of this wall is an as of yet unfinished room. That's going to be finished in the next week or two. And then all of this whole studio is going to move in there because they need to replace all these floors. So might as well move into the new fancy room. So the studio is going to be brand new. It's going to be Gucci, and I'm here for it. But as part of that, they're also putting in mini splits for AC so that I don't boil alive when we do long streaming days, because I anticipate in 2025 we're going to have a lot of gameplay streams that are longer, because there's going to be so many freaking games. It's the only way I'll be able to finish them is if we're playing it on stream. So that's what we're doing. So forgive things being pulled out a little bit, because the second the stream is over, I have to move it back out. As for the vacation, we spent a solid 2 weeks in the Bahamas. Specifically, I didn't say where specifically before we went or while we were there, because obviously I didn't want to invite problems or anything, but we went to an island called Exuma, and Exuma is freaking gorgeous. I mean, it's like the bluest of blue waters you can possibly imagine. There's entire, like, I don't know, packs of wild pigs that swim in the water, and like they're big pigs. Like, this would probably come up to my waist if we were standing next to it. They're big, but they just like swim in the ocean. Really cute, really adorable. But the water is freakishly blue. It's delightfully cool and yet warm, just warm enough, you know, really, really nice. As close to like a tropical paradise as you can get in terms of like what's there landscape wise and with the ocean and everything. It's gorgeous. However, about a week in, if you guys watch the clip where I talked about the AC shadows delay, you know this already. But about a week in, we got norovirus. And norovirus, if you don't know, which I don't know why you would unless you've had it, it actually is going around right now. I actually have a few friends in Colorado who got it while we got it in Exuma. But it is like also Norwalk virus, it's sometimes called. It's also known as winter vomiting disease. Gastroenteritis. Okay. Infections characterized by okay, I'm not going to describe this too much, but basically your entire body tries to turn itself inside out from both ends. Your whole body is like, what is going on? Stop it. And Some people, you know, they get hit with it. It goes away, you know, they puke, they're done within 8 hours and they're fine. Some of the people we were there with had that. And they were done with it in like an afternoon, basically. For me, I had the pukes for like an entire day, and then I had a raging fever for an entire day. And then at the end of the day, I had another round of pukes. But after that, I was fine. And then we were able to function again. But it was like 2.5 days of just misery. And the way that norovirus spreads is like it hits one person, they get infected, it passes to the next. That takes about 2 days for it to hit them. And then it hits them, and then 2 days pass, and then it hits that person. So it went through our entire family one by one. Like, it was crazy. It hit little Ori, it hit Nikki, it hit me. Like, we were all affected by it. So I'm glad to be done with that. But it definitely made it like being sick at home sucks. Being sick in a foreign country really sucks. Being sick in a foreign country that just doesn't have like doctor's offices or pharmacies or anything like that is extra bad. Like, because Exuma doesn't really have any of that. Exuma, it's kind of hard to explain.
So your vacation was sick.
It was indeed. I will catch up on all the super chats and stuff, guys, in just a second. Thank you for that. But Exuma. Yeah, I think this is where we were. It was gorgeous in so many ways, but I don't know if they've actually done scans here. Smitty's. Oh, this is like a little shop we went to. Yeah, I've been here. But it's like, this is the supermarket for like the entire island. And because everything is dependent on the ships coming in, 95% of the time they just don't have anything. Like, they just don't. You know, one of those packs of Oreos, my wife loves Oreos. You know, she lives for them. Like something like this, you know, you see it at Walmart, it's freaking 4.88. This pack of Oreos in Exuma would be like $28, and I'm not joking, like $28. So a little pack of ibuprofen is like $35, and it's crazy. So being really sick, having the entire family sick at that time is tough. It's pretty tough to deal with, especially with like little kids. There were some amazing places we went to, though. There's a new place called the Coconut Club, which is adorable. This place is fantastic.
Hey, Luke, SS.
Like,
Kill the Justice League seems
so
to
good.
be doing great, as now it's 100% off for PS Plus users. Lol.
Is it doing great? I don't know what PlayStation numbers are. I mean, they already announced that it's canceled. Like, it's done. So I don't know how great it can be doing, but if people are getting it for free and trying it, as I said, I mean, I think if you want to spend 5 hours with it, you can spend 5 hours with it. It's just not a $70 game at that.
After the KCD preview event, how hyped are you? Basically every YouTuber that has played it early are saying good things.
Yeah, Brandon, it's crazy good. Like, obviously I can't go into too much detail because we're in the review period, but it is crazy good. I said in that video, in that preview video, which I recorded, funnily enough, I think I recorded that on like December 12th or 15th or something. I recorded that like a month before it went live. So for all through Christmas, all through the new year, I was like, I just want to talk about Kingdom Come. I can't, because whatever we were allowed to talk about on the 10th, I think is when it lifted. So it was tough. It was tough to not talk about it because it's so good. Still, Kingdom Come. So if you didn't like the first one, like, you're not going to magically love this one, I don't think. But man, it's, as far as I can tell so far, after that preview, they pulled it off. But again, we'll talk about that more in the review when that happens. But yeah, Coconut Club was delicious and wonderful. This was like the one place that kind of fit my expectations for what we'd see more, like really good drinks, and food and super clear water, starfish all over the place. Very beautiful pictures of the bathrooms for some reason. Very beautiful. Very, very beautiful. And this place is only like 4 or 5 months old. It's brand new. Everything else, though, is kind of falling apart. That's kind of what surprised me, is that Exuma is beautiful. All the pictures are gorgeous. But you go there, and if you live not on a resort, it's much, much more poverty-stricken than you might have thought. And I had some people in chat. I remember we were talking about this before we went. Some people were talking about how, be prepared, it's more run down than you might think, but it really was. Yeah, it was good. Very good. Let's see, somebody chucks super chats at him to get him to talk about Dawnwalker. Oh, dude, I've got all this stuff pulled up. Don't you worry. I'm excited to talk about that. So yeah, it's just, it was beautiful. We saw sharks, we saw pigs, we saw, there were stingrays that swam on all the beaches, and they just like headbutt you and want to like cuddle you. It's really kind of crazy. But they just want to like cuddle you, so they just headbutt. Like, this is, I'm going to be like a boomer. I'm just going to hold this up to the camera. This is one of the pigs that just swam up next to the boat. Here's Lockie looking at it. But it just like swims right up to the boat. It's just like, hey guys, just want to say hi. See, it's a big pig, dude. It's big. And he just like swims up because like, hey people, what's up? What's up? You can kind of see the stingrays, where? In some of these pics you can see the stingrays. I could have sworn. Oh, here's one with a few people out looking at them. But yeah, like those are stingrays. Fresh off killing Steve Irwin, and they just come out and they'll like headbutt you. They want you to pet them. They're like, they call them cats of the sea is what our boat captain called them. I was like, I'm not sure if that's what anybody else calls them, but he's like, they're like cats. They just like cuddling. They like being pet. It's really funny, really funny. And they were very sweet. Like they just wanted to rub up against you, have you pet them. Then they'd circle back and let you pet them more. Like, it was really cute. Yeah. Chickens of the highway underpass. Cats that can kill you. Well, that's apparently why the Steve Irwin thing was so crazy, is because they don't do that. You know, you'd have to be directly above it, freak it out, scare it, and then it would also have to get really lucky and hit you in the heart, which is what happened. But yeah, it was really cool. I missed you too, Ralph. I missed you. You should have avenged Steve Irwin. Imagine I leapt into the ocean and I just start massacring the stingrays. What are you doing? This is for Steve. Someone's got to do it. Sorry. Oh man. It got lucky. I mean, yeah, I remember seeing the documentary where they're like, it had to thread the needle between like his ribs, hit his heart perfectly, and the angle that their barbs come out isn't naturally like that. Like they had to get so freaking lucky to get that shot and to kill him with it. But you know, it only takes one. Okay, let's see real quick. Let me catch up on all these. Then let's talk about some games, because I've been going stir crazy, dude. I've been away for 2 weeks with people that don't play video games. And so like, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? Not talk about video games? I went crazy. I would have streamed. I wanted to stream. I actually brought a Starlink Mini with me. And I look like a crazy person, but I brought a satellite dish with me in my luggage so that I could have good internet. And thankfully I did, because like the internet that they had provided was so, it was like sub 3G network, you know? And the Wi-Fi they had was like a little hotspot puck that you plug into the wall, and it just is basically a hotspot from the local network that drops constantly. So the Starlink is the way to go there. But even then, all of the buildings there that are worth staying in and are not moldy are made of solid concrete. So no Wi-Fi signals get through there. So I would have to sit outside in this very specific particular spot in order to have internet to stream. And I was like, this just doesn't really make sense. So we took time. relaxed, but I want to talk games. I'm going stir crazy. Yeah. AWD, yeah, we were on Exuma. Yeah. We stayed just next to is it Mosstown? Because Mosstown, right next to Mosstown, because we were about 10 minutes from Georgetown. 10-15 minutes. It was good. We drove all the way to the Tropic of Cancer too. That was cool. That was really cool. Also, just a word of warning, doing customs and immigration stuff at the Charlotte airport is awful. Don't go there. It's bad. They had like one person for all U.S. citizens going through. It was laughably bad. We almost missed our connection with like 2.5 hours. Did I take my RG Ally? I did, and I may or may not have been playing a certain game for review on that device for the very long plane rides we had. So yeah. Okay, let's go and catch up on these, and then let's talk games. First of all, I'm going to go in order that they came in, so just bear with me while I catch up on these. Agoravito, thank you for resubbing. I watched the fake optimization video, and it made me realize Stalker 2 kind of looks like trash. I got a new TV for it, too. A TLC, or TCL? I think it's TCL. Maybe I mix it up. Q7 Series X, welcome back. Thank you. Yeah, Stalker at times looks really, really good, but at other times there's specific scenes where it struggles a little bit more, but it is a beautiful game. I haven't looked at it too much on console, though. I don't know if console is its strongest spot. On PC, it looks pretty good. Trash Panda Cole, thank you for resubbing with Prime. Chancer Games, thank you for resubbing with Prime as well. And that message about Suicide Squad. Loxley, Robin of Loxley, thank you for resubbing 6 months. Ooh, baby. At tier 1, that's fantastic. Thank you, my friend. And the Beard Machine, thank you for resubbing with Prime as well. Welcome back. I'm glad to be back. Mr. Steelio Kill over on YouTube. Welcome back, Luke, to the rest of society. Dude, I can't even tell you. I am a bougie guy. Shocker. I like my creature comforts. I like my pina coladas. I like my good internet. I like my game devices. Going to a place where literally none of that exists, except for pina coladas, they had good pina coladas, is tough. It was beautiful. But especially once we got sick with norovirus, like we're sick. We're not going outside to enjoy the ocean or the beach. Like we're shivering with fevers and puking uncontrollably. I was like, I just want to go and play games or something. Like that will make me feel better, but we couldn't. I'm the first person ever to go to the Bahamas and complain. It was fantastic. It was fantastic. No, it really was beautiful. It's norovirus kind of made it a little less enjoyable, but once we kicked norovirus, it was great again. I missed we were going to do deep sea fishing. I was really excited for that, but I missed it because I had norovirus, and I was like, I'm not in the condition to go. Josh, thank you for that. Welcome back. Hope y'all feeling better. We are indeed. I think the whole family is really glad to be back home. But Lachlan, when he woke up this morning, we got him ready for his little preschool place that he goes to. And he's like, I want to go back to Bahamas. Like, how dare you? We're so tired. 2 weeks in a place that's polar opposite from where you're used to is tough, especially with kids. It's really tough. D-Tunes, thank you for the 6 euros. Hi, Luke. A while back, I tagged you. I made some songs for your intro. Did you check them out? Would be cool if you use them. Welcome back. Thank you, my friend. If you sent them, I think I had you send them to the my management email thing, the Luke at 28thAv.com. Make sure to send them to there. If they're sent there, we'll eventually get to it, but I will warn you, like, we're very backed up on our emails right now because of the holidays, and also my agent is currently on vacation, so there's just a lot of things, but we're very backed up. But we can look at it. If we don't end up using it, it's nothing personal. It's just that there might be some thing where it's like concerns about licensing or royalties or anything else like that. IROXZ11, thank you for 15 months. That's crazy that it's been that long. So your vacation was sick. It was indeed. Aiden, thank you for the 2. I had it once, threw up every 15 minutes for 12 hours. Yep, that sounds about right. Brandon Reyes, thank you for 26 months. Oh yeah, about the KCD2 previews. Yeah, I don't think there has been a single negative preview as far as I can tell. Oh wait, no, I think there was there one? I don't remember his name. There was some guy that I think this is what it was. He got access to the preview or a review code. I think it was a review code. And he spent like 5 hours in it. And then he was like, yeah, the game's just too hard. And he said, I'm not going to be making a review after all. And he's like quitting. Which is pretty hilarious. To be given a review code after you ask for it. And then to be like, the game's hard. And give up on it. Like, what the hell? If anybody remembers who that was, it was like one of those, like, it was one of those YouTubers that gets memed on a ton for being like a I think like a PlayStation fanboy. I don't remember who it was though. Reforge said the save system is very annoying. Like, did you play the first game? I think if you're used to, like, if you want your handheld, if you're used to being able to spam quick saves and stuff just to quickly pump through stuff, like, I can understand how you might not like KCD, but the way that they have the save system set up in that game is entirely intentional because they want you to have a reason to go back to your bed, to go back to your stash, to go back to the blacksmith, to go back to all the different places you're staying. It's all about keeping you in that loop, in that immersion. And if you went into KCD2, you asked for a review code, and then you're complaining about something which is like iconically Kingdom Come, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? It's like going and asking for a review code for GTA 6. You get it, and they're like, wait, there's a lot of crime in this game. I don't think I can deal with that. I'm not going to play it. It's like, you should have known. You should have known. And the fact that you didn't know makes me think that you, like, maybe misrepresented your experience a wee bit, maybe. It was Jor. No, I don't actually know if Jor is playing Kingdom Come. I don't know if it's his cup of tea. I don't actually know. That's worth asking. Interesting. Okay, let me catch up on this. Marvel Rivals. Oh yeah, no, me, my wife, my brothers, we've been playing Marvel Rivals, but I haven't been able to play it in 2.5 weeks, basically, because we've been traveling. So I'm excited to kind of get back in the swing of things. Where was I? But yeah, other than that one guy, I can't think of a single experience with KCD2 that has been reported to be negative. Sumaya, thank you for that very generous super chat. Let's see. Hey Luke, there is a new RGG Direct showing the new Pirate Yakuza gameplay. It's 13 minutes showing better naval combat and shipboarding than Black Flag. Would really, really appreciate if you could react to it. Maybe some people get convinced here. Yeah, did I have that pulled up? No, I didn't have it yet. Yeah, that Yakuza pirate gameplay is crazy. Because they just casually are showing off like a ton of crazy ship combat. Like, it's more arcadey than I was hoping for personally, but it's also Yakuza, so like that's what you're gonna get. I mean, it's arcadey, but this is just another one of those wacky, ridiculous games that they've put out where it's like, how did you guys do this so quickly? And energy cannon, shark cannons, like it's absolutely wild. They're like, the best way to describe Yakuza games is, I realized I didn't turn it. Forgive me, I'm rusty with my camera switching. but like these games are just raw, stupid fun. They don't take themselves seriously at all. And you can have a ton of fun with them, but like if you're going into it expecting like something kind of gritty and dark, you're probably going to be left wanting. Because they're very arcadey and silly and stupid, but they're fun. They're still very, very fun. You know, they're the kind of game that probably for most people is like a B- or a C+, because there's problems, you know, graphically it's not the most amazing, or narratively it's not taking itself seriously at all. So there's probably things to poke holes in, but it's just so damn fun. And those kinds of like journalistic review score systems don't tend to take just fun factor into it, you know? Sometimes they kind of try to build it into the score, but sometimes you can have a game that's not a masterpiece that still is just stupid, silly fun, you know? Yeah, Infinite Wealth is a really good time too. Yeah, it really is. Let's see. Mr. Serial Kill, thing for that one, dude. Marvel Rivals popped off this weekend. Yeah, they did for real. Hit new peaks. They had their new whatever, their new season drop, and yeah, man, it's crazy. Let's see. Mason, thank you for the 5. What are your thoughts on the Helldivers movie? I wouldn't be surprised if the movie makers deviate from the game lore / theme. Flop or not a flop? It's not going to be toned. If it's Starship Troopers, it'll be good. Like I could see seeing that with my college roommates that I've played a lot of the game with. But if it's trying to be like the Halo TV show, and it's trying to be like more serious for a new modern audience, then it's going to suck ass, but we just don't know. I will say that Sony, sometimes they hit it out of the park with movies. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is like the great example of them just killing it. But then they do other stuff. Like what was Craven, the new one? Some of that stuff is like insanely bad. It's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Yes, I got a Chick-fil-A lemonade this morning, and I'm very, very happy. I had to go pick up the cats from boarding. They have a little like cat hotel they go stay at when we travel. It's really cute. They get what do they call them? Kitty condos. They each get their own little kitty condo at the vet, and it's very cute. It's very cute. It's like their own little apartment. Madam Web is actually worse. The fact that like you have to debate which one is the more terrible movie is kind of funny. Will we get to see your cats on stream sometime? Oh yeah, they come in every once in a while. The problem is Finley chews on cables and he's going to electrocute himself. So he is not typically allowed in. Hermione is fine. She comes in every once in a while. Just depends. Just depends on what they're doing. But we just had all of the floors redone. Their litter boxes used to be over there, and we've moved them now to a new room. So we're trying to get them used to that since we're finishing that room. It was previously unfinished, and so we had some litter boxes in there, and we had the cat tree and some toys in there for them. So it would be like their kind of space. But now that it's being finished, we have to move them and move their litter boxes and stuff. So it's a whole thing. Okay, almost caught up, guys. I'm sorry. I'm very unprofessional. I'm so bad. I'm so bad. Where was I? D-Tunes, didn't you get a KCD2 key? You could have played that. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say. So I will offer no comment on whether I got a KCD2 review code. Because I don't know if I'm allowed to say if I did or did not. Ricadius, thank you for that 5. KCD is a game I care nothing about, but simultaneously see how talented the devs are, and want someone to give them the Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones license. Dude, them doing like a Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings or something, that could be really, really cool. One thing Sir Toby said when we were in New York City for the preview event, he was saying how very clearly like this is the game they wanted to make back when they first did this. Like this is what they always wanted to do, but they just didn't have the resources, didn't have the time, they didn't have any of that. So they just didn't, you know, they did the best they could, and still KCD won fantastic. But this game is everything they wanted to do in that first time around, but with more experience and more money and more time. That's pretty solid. That's pretty exciting. And so far, it looks like they actually pulled it off. Boone, thank you. 12 months, baby. 1 year. That's fantastic. Thanks for the entertainment, Luke. Thank you, Boone, for the support, and thank you for being in chat and hanging with us. This has been a wonderful year, and 2025 is going to be even more insane. There's even something I'm doing in the next week, which is insane. Next 3 weeks, which is insane. Allegedly, we're going to have a Nintendo Switch 2 announcement on Thursday. Allegedly. That is going to be a whole onslaught of stuff. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. Yeah, the 50 series cards, which I guess I could ramble about that after we look at these trailers and stuff, because I have thoughts. Will, thank you for the 5. Is it bad to hope Shadows completely fails financially regardless of quality, just so the company and control can change if that means cancellations? I think it's bad to root for any game to, well, I think, we should hope for as many good games and as few bad games as possible. I understand what you're saying, though, is hoping that there's broader implications of company restructurings. It'll be better for the devs and the studios in the long run if you get proper, capable management in place. I mean, really, at this point, as I said in the other video I made on it, I think Ubisoft's story, their fate is pretty much established. Somebody's going to buy out a major stake in them. Probably not totally, probably not a full buyout, but they probably go 50-50 or 51-49 or something with the Game Off family. And they take control of the company and restructure it and all that. I think that happens pretty much no matter what. Shadows, if it does really well, just postpones that. Probably pushes it to late next year or early to mid next year, maybe. But if the game does not perform really, 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 really well, then I think that we just see Ubisoft by the end of 25, significantly change. Probably we'll see the acquisition, see the buyouts and all that. Really, all of it is going to come down to the Animus hub, because that is the whole thing. That's the whole kit and caboodle for AC Shadows, for everything they're doing. Everything comes down to that Infinity hub, because the hub is supposed to encapsulate the hub. It's supposed to have Shadows in here. It's supposed to have the Black Flag remake in here. It's supposed to have the multiplayer game in here. It's supposed to have individual little mini experiences, the mobile game, Jade. It's supposed to have all of this stuff sprinkled in it. And it's supposed to be a broad hub, but it's still not clear what the purpose is. It might be that they want you to be able to buy a skin in Shadows for one of the characters. And then that also applies to all of these other games. So if you have skins you really like, you can buy them and they carry across. That it's not personally for me. I don't care about skins that much, but I can see how somebody who likes getting their really fancy, cool, I don't know, mummy skin, makes them look like a mummy. I remember they had one of those in Origins. Maybe they want to bring that and be able to play with that skin in an AC2 remaster or the AC1 remake or something. I don't know. But that's the only thing I can think of with the hub. The only reason they would do it this way. Because the other suggestion is that the hub is going to basically offer mini battle passes that are mostly free. A lot of them are free. They're just meant to kind of keep you playing, because they want you to have the hub downloaded and to be able to pop into Shadows and then, oh, it's Tuesday, I feel like the multiplayer game today. Play that for a day or two or a few hours and then go back over here and play the Black Flag remake. That's kind of what their goal is. But that only really works as a company directive if it makes a lot of money. And nobody at this point knows what that hook is. Nobody knows how the hub is supposed to make them lots of money. And so if this hub ends up being a total flop, and my suspicion is maybe part of this Shadows delay is that they are revamping that because they realized they were not going to get away with really aggressive monetization there. So maybe they're just overhauling it. They're cutting a lot of that out. And it really is just going to be like a launcher, a more elaborate launcher. And if that's what they do, that might not be that intrusive, but I don't think that makes investors happy. Because again, I think investors will only be happy if they reveal this and it prints money. And if they reveal it and it's just kind of like a glorified launcher, I don't see how that fixes things for them. So we'll see. We'll see. Almost there, guys. Almost there. I'm so sorry. Mia, thank you for the 10 months. Ooh, baby, I got halfway through Refantasio while staying inside to avoid smoke inhalation and hoping my home wouldn't burn. My goodness, Mia. Hopefully you are safe and sound and the fires have subsided a bit. I know they reached better containment on them, but I don't know. I'm not in Los Angeles. I don't really know too much about the spread of it or where it's at today, but hopefully you are doing okay. Thoughts and prayers, my friend. Stay safe. Samaya, thank you for that one as well. Luke, I know you will get the 5090. You can give me your 4090. I'll dispose of it. Dude, I'm not even sure. And I'm a YouTuber. I love wasting money on stuff. But man, these stats, when they started showing off the stats for the next gen graphics cards, I was like, I don't know, guys. They're like, these are some Apple looking charts. Apple has really, really suspicious, presentations and chart selection. Like this, they show DLSS 4 versus DLSS off in comparison. Full ray tracing, so overdrive, everything. 28 frames natively, doing DLSS 4, full ray tracing on everything, it gets 242. I mean, it's wildly impressive.
Now a member. Hope you had
Ooh.
a happy vacation. Just
Thank you.
Finished Plague Take Requiem. When does the pain stop?
Never. Yeah, Plague Tale Requiem messed me up too, dude. It messed me up. I didn't think they'd do that. I didn't think they'd go there, but they did. It's very good. But like, and with this, I can appreciate the amazing tech that's going into making this possible, but it's rendering at a significantly lower resolution, and then it's not just upscaling it, it's also inserting multiple frames. It's doing other cool things like ray reconstruction that does actually improve image quality in many instances in like Cyberpunk, but it's just not the same. But this is kind of where I'm at. I'm trying to not be like a boomer. Back in my day, we would just play the game and we didn't need any of this. I'm trying not to be like that because it very well is. I mean, it seems, how do I put this? If somebody can't tell the difference without it labeled between a solid frame rate native render versus a good frame rate upscaled render, like at that point, does it really matter? In other words, like the native rendering is very impressive and takes a lot of horsepower, no doubt. But what Nvidia realized and a lot of these other companies realized is that you have to go up so exponentially in terms of compute power to achieve higher frame rates, just brute forcing it, that it makes sense to start trying to cheat a little bit, especially if people can't tell. And I think what they've realized is that a lot of people can't tell the difference between 1440p upscaled to 4K and native 4K. So just render at 1440p, upscale it, and then, call it a day, better frames. And for a lot of people, I think that's true, but it's also true of a lot of games. And the other piece is that there's a lot of artifacting that goes on in these games that you're not going to see in a compressed YouTube video, but you will see when you're actually playing it. I mean, some of this stuff that they did show was really impressive. Like they have all new materials, science going on within these new shaders that are being built from the ground up. But the vision that they've said is that basically they foresee the future of gaming to be pretty much all tied to AI. Yeah, rendered frame 1. They have generated frame 1, 2, and 3. They're generating 3 different frames for each single one that they render. What a shirt, man. You know, it's just, I think we'll know once we actually get to try it, because I'm sure it is way better, and I'm sure it's only going to get better and be more impressive. But there's just something in my gut that doesn't like that they're having to rely so heavily on upscalers and these kind of roundabout ways of getting better frames. Because it seems like a lot of developers are just using it as a crutch. Like, you look at Jedi Survivor. Jedi Survivor, if it wasn't using any upscalers, wouldn't have run at 15 frames. Like that, it was dreadful. It was dreadful. But even now, like the 5090 comparisons that they've done, where they've shown it off, like the charts they use are really not that clear. It's like just ray tracing. You can see that 1x, you know, versus, this is 4090 versus 5090. Maybe like a 20% bump in raw performance there, maybe 15-20%. DLSS plus ray tracing gets way better. As you start to include DLSS, it gets better and better and better. But it seems like it is specifically because of this DLSS improvement. So I don't know. I was really thinking that they revealed the 5090 and I'd be like super giddy for it, but I'm looking at it, I'm like, you know, it really does look like it's just another example of them making a little incremental improvement, and then they're using upscalers, and then they're locking it to certain tiers of hardware so that it looks like you're getting a better value when you're really not. Nissan 86, thank you for the 5. Most gamers don't want ray tracing or upscaling or frame gen, but the industry has embraced it anyway. Brute force is gone, boys. Pour one out for the homies. Yeah, I do think brute forcing is gone, but more than anything, I think it's just that the average consumer can't really tell the difference. I saw it all the time when I worked at Best Buy, dude. When I worked at Best Buy selling TVs or selling all this stuff, people couldn't tell the difference between like a backlit TV and an edgelit TV, which as a TV guy, as a guy that really likes high quality screens and stuff, hurts my heart. Like, it's painful to see people like, I can't tell, but this one's bigger, therefore it's better. It's like, how dare you? How dare you? But like a lot of people just can't tell the difference in image quality or in frame rates. I think from 30 to 60 they can tell, but I think most people, if they boot it up, they just don't really care that much. And having sold TVs to these types of people, I will tell you, the vast majority of average consumers out there think that having a better TV will get you a better image, quote unquote, versus upgrading like the source. I can't even tell you how many times we would sell TVs to people who would come back in and want to return it because when they plugged it into their 15-year-old cable box, it looked like crap. It's like, yeah, it's only as good as the source you're putting in, man. They're like, no, but I got the big TV. This is a 65-inch TV. This should look way better than my old one. Why does it look like crap? It's like, because the crappy source is now just stretched even bigger. But people don't know that because they're stupid. 3 people working there didn't know where to find a mini HDMI cable, and I was the only one who had an idea to check in the camera section. Yeah, Luality, the frickin' Best Buy now is not what it used to be. They used to, like, when I worked there, they flew us to, or did we fly or did we try? I don't remember. We went on a business trip. They set us up in a hotel. We did a fancy schmancy training. We did all this really cool stuff to learn what we were selling better, to learn about the TVs, see the next year's TVs early, to learn about them and be able to properly sell them to people. Nowadays, they just hire like half drunk, sleepy high schoolers for the most part. And it was really too bad. But it was because there was a guy Hubert Joly. This was the CEO when I was there. Hubert Joly. And, he's a lecturer at Harvard Business School. Wow, what a guy. But he was the CEO of Best Buy when I was there. And then he was replaced after the fact by, this lady, Corey Berry. And she, in my opinion, is steadily destroying Best Buy. Her whole goal is like pay the workers as little as possible, do everything through online orders and online like store pickup. Don't train anybody. If somebody asks for a raise, you fire them, or don't fire them, rather. It's like quiet firing. They give you a 7-cent raise. I was talking to a buddy of mine who I worked there with in 2018. He hit his whatever 5-year mark, back in 2023. And I was talking to him like this past summer when I went in to get something. And he was like, yeah, I had this big milestone. They gave me a small little like tote to take grocery shopping, put your groceries in. He said, I also got to pick one thing out of the swag box, which was like keychains and stuff like that. And then he got a raise. I don't remember exactly. It was like 17 cents or 12 cents or something. It was less than a quarter an hour after 5 years. And he said, what on earth are you talking about? And he asked them for a better raise. And they said, well, we'll pass it up. It has to go to the district manager. So they went 3 levels higher. And they came back, yeah, we just can't offer you anymore. Because they don't consider him worth having. Because like he knows his stuff. He can help customers find what they need or find stuff they didn't know that they needed. But he probably is not worth that extra money, because they're also going to sell way more than that just through online pickup. Just do that. Don't you have fixed numbers for those kinds of things for raises? No, they did it all through like a spreadsheet that was done by the district manager that you never heard about, and you never got to meet the district manager, because the whole idea was that they have layers of bureaucracy so that you can never see the person screwing you over. It's always the guy upstairs. So your boss can be like, yeah, I'm frustrated too. I was rooting for you to get that raise. They don't really care. They don't really care, But anyway. Okay. Let's blast through this. I want to talk about Blood of the Dawnwalker. I also feel like we should touch on the Switch thing real quick, because that's kind of the elephant in the room. Real quick here. Also, shout out everybody. Thank you for the very generous contributions. Thank you for all of that. You guys are amazing. I'm glad to be back. Thank you. Bite size. Ooh, baby.
That's most definitely what's up.
It is most definitely what's up. All right, lad. Hope you had a nice Crimbo New Year's. I hope you'll be playing Skate 4/Skate when it's in early access soon. Are you wearing pants? Barely. Yes, I am wearing pants. Unfortunately, I should go just total free ball one of these days. I feel like that would be freeing, I think it'd be freeing. Maybe we'll do it for a special stream or something. Thank you for being here, my friend. Glad to see you. And praise Cobra's magic. Jimothy, thank you for the 8 months. Also, thank God you're back. I was actually paying attention at work for a couple of weeks. It was horrible. Well, let's fix that. So in case, I get to do this again. It's been too long. New segment. Real quick, it's the elephant in the room. It's the elephant. It's in the room. This room, the room we're in. Allegedly, according to Nate the Hate, who is a person, a YouTuber, I think, who people have said that he's got a good track record. I'm not familiar with Nate the Hate, but apparently has a track record that people consider to be semi-reliable, at least. But according to previously reliable podcast Nate the Hate, which claims that a reveal trailer planned by Nintendo will focus on the Switch 2 hardware, and this could happen as early as Thursday, January 16th. So 2 days from now. This jives with what we've heard from other sources. For example, VGC has been told that they're going to be doing a sort of 2-phase reveal where they're going to show off hardware and then they're going to show off the actual games and stuff. This is what they did back 8 years ago. Do you feel old yet? 8 years ago, October 20th, 2016, where they did this trailer revealing the Switch. And it just kind of sells the use of the device. You know, it's kind of like what Apple tried to do with that Vision Pro headset, where they just show people with googly eyes staring at each other on a first date. And it's like, nobody wants this. But with this, you know, at least you see the vision. You see the controllers going onto the device. He takes it out. He takes it with him somewhere else. And you understand what this is, what the vision is. Wow, I can play the game on my TV, put the controllers in, keep playing as I go somewhere else. Brilliant. And they show some gameplay. You know, they had already announced Breath of the Wild and we knew about that, but they show some more and it gives you an idea of what you can expect with it. On a plane, one of the best uses for the Switch. I'm still amazed by the Switch's battery life too. Yeah, compared to my ROG Ally, it is fantastic. It really is. But yeah, road trips, they paint the picture. And this really, I think, did a good job of that, selling that vision, you know. So I think it makes sense that they would do that. The other piece of this is that it seems like everybody on Earth has already announced the Switch 2, except for Nintendo. There's been multiple stories already where like Amazon will have listings of products for the Switch 2 showing the device. And like at CES, there were tons of these. There were tons of these little devices, cases, carrying bags, cool little accessories, replacement Joy-Cons, all sorts of stuff that they showed. And yet Nintendo still has not shown anything. It's really, really bizarre. But from all these leaks, there are a few things that we definitely can take away. And this is not just from these things, these early postings, but also from leaks and stuff that has been, have been out a while. Supposedly it's even on the black market already. Really, bust a nut? Really? That's crazy if that's true. That, wow. But for one, this is not a reinvention. Okay. This is a, what do they call it? It's not a reinvention. It's an evolution, I think is what they're calling. Even though by many factors, it seems like, maybe not many, by at least one notable factor, this will be a step backwards. And that is that this will almost certainly be using an LCD screen as opposed to the OLED screen that the Switch OLED uses. The OLED screen on the Switch OLED is fantastic. It really, really is beautiful. To go back to an LCD screen kind of sucks. It just sucks. Because you'd hope that this would just be across the board an improvement over the Switch. But apparently no, it's an LCD screen. It's being done to save money, and that's just what you're going to do. So they're doing that. There's an extra button on the new Joy-Con. Allegedly, they have fixed the stick drift issues and the disconnection issues that plagued the Joy-Cons for so long. They will now attach with some sort of magnetic lock as opposed to a sliding rail lock. I don't actually know if I like that more. I know some people hated the sliding rails. I didn't mind it. I liked how secure it was, but allegedly this will secure differently. And I'm sure for case manufacturers, they also like that because it means that they can have this crease running down the side and you can have your case on the Joy-Con and then it just kind of all clicks together. So that's kind of cool. But it is, to be clear, a Switch 2. I mean, it is not meant to be a reinvention. This is not a new device. It is just a new Switch. Couple positives. New Nintendo games. They make some really good stuff. They are partnering with Nvidia, and it's likely that this will integrate DLSS in some significant way, specifically when it's docked. So even though this will be significantly more powerful than the base Switch, it should also be able to do much higher fidelity just by means of using DLSS, which is way better than the AMD stuff that you get on other handheld devices, PC devices, stuff like that. So it does seem like there's there's going to be improvements, but I do think that there's going to be a lot of people when this is revealed that are like, really, that's it? Because I think a lot of people are expecting that Switch moment. A lot of people are hoping for the reveal that blows them away, and they want that excitement. They want something really to blow them away. And I just don't know if that's what we're going to see here. My gut is that it's going to be fun. It's going to be a new Nintendo device, but I just don't think it's going to be anything that crazy. And I don't think we should get our hopes up that it's going to like totally blow your mind. Especially because the gaming world is very different now than it was back in 2017. There's a lot more handheld devices now. One of the main selling points for the Switch for like 4 years was that you could play all these third-party games, all of these games like even The Witcher 3, or what were some other ones that I played that were ported? LA Noire. I remember playing LA Noire a ton on my Switch. They ported all of these games over and you could take them on the go. And it was so exciting to finally be able to do that because there wasn't another way to do that. Now you can just get like a Steam Deck. You can get an ROG Ally. You can get a Legion Go. You can get any one of these other handheld devices that will run the game probably way better. It'll integrate with Steam, a much bigger marketplace with much better value, much better sales and stuff. It's harder to justify. So I think Nintendo will really need those big console saves or console saves, those big console sellers. They're going to need Mario Kart. They're going to need Smash Bros. They're going to need a new 3D Mario. They're going to need those big games to kind of dominate. As of right now, the exclusives that are going to be launching with it are still up for debate. Typically at this stage in the life cycle, we would have heard more leaks about what is going to be coming, but it's not really clear right now. Nate the Hate speculates that the Switch 2 could launch in May or June of this year, which matches what VGC has heard from their own sources, and that a new version of Mario Kart could be available at launch, followed by a 3D Mario release during the holiday of 25, which I think if they could pull this off is a solid lineup. I think most people will wait till the holidays to buy it anyway. So if you can get a Mario game and Mario Kart at the same time, boom, easy peasy. Third-party releases will likely include Final Fantasy VII Remake. According to Nate, Ubisoft is planning to release AC Mirage for the Switch, which makes sense. Already Mirage runs on the iPad. Like you can play this on your phone, which is really impressive. It looks and runs really, really well, but it's, yeah, I mean, they've focused a lot on scalability with that. And then there's also rumors that Konami will port Metal Gear Solid Delta to the device as well. So all of this, though, it kind of is a secondary thing, because here's what I want to know from you, and I'm going to make a poll because I want to know where you guys stand on this, and that's price.
Guy Spy Danger 07 donated $20 through Super Chat.
Booyah.
Happy holidays to you and fam. Wondering, do you think execs are in a tough spot trying to make investors happy or customers happy? Because it seems like the tactics that work for one don't for the other.
Stay beautiful. Thank you, my friend. Wondering, do you think, I mean, I think there is a point where, how do I say this? People who play Fortnite enjoy playing Fortnite, which is why they're playing it, which is why they're spending money on it. All those people who are playing Marvel Rivals, they're spending money on it because they like the game. And then, you know, they're also serving the shareholders who are getting fantastic returns as a result of them liking the game and spending money on the game. I think the tough spot that executives are in, trying to make investors happy and customers happy at the same time, it's only a tough spot because they don't understand what gamers actually want. Really, the games industry is actually quite simple. If you give people games they like and they find fun and engaging, they'll spend money on them. You just have to do that. The problem seeps in when companies get greedy or get ahead of themselves, or both. And that's kind of what you saw with, like, maybe Concord is a great example, where they had a game which was a thing. I mean, it wasn't groundbreaking or anything, but it was decently well put together mechanically. And they had built in years worth of plans. They built in this show, this anthology show. There's rumors and speculation they wanted it to be Star Wars level, levels of success and branding. There's other examples with like Suicide Squad where they basically restructured their entire company around it. And they got ahead of themselves instead of just trying to make a game that people liked. And then they're like, okay, well, we'll monetize it after. We'll really get that tackled after we get all this done. Instead of doing that, like they just tried to do it all ahead of time, build all the monetization out, and spent half the dev time trying to figure that stuff out. And it's just, I think it's because they don't know what players want. And so they mess up and give them something they don't want, or even something that they actively hate. And then they act surprised when people don't actually want it. Yeah, are they in a tough spot? Maybe, but it's only a really tough spot because they are kind of stupid and don't know what they are doing anymore. They don't know what players want. They don't know any of that. I'm going to create this poll. I want to know what price point you guys would buy the Switch to. Putting this in the chats for you to vote on. Pin. Oh, I should have put, if you're not going to buy it, I should have put another one in there that I'm not interested. Don't vote. Just click show results if you would not buy it at all. Okay? Fair? If you're not interested, just click show results. You don't have to vote. I should have done that. Where's 200? Because the Switch back in 2017 was 300. So I feel like there's no way on earth they would do 200. So if you're only 200, I think you're just not going to buy it. Fair. Vitones, thank you for that. While you guys are voting, did you see Apex Legends is going the exact opposite direction of Marvel Rivals? Skins, battle passes, everything microtransaction wise getting very predatory and no investment at all, and to anti-cheats to improvements. Very sad. Yeah, I mean, I loved Apex back in the day. Like a year or two ago, I was putting a lot of time into it. But it's clear EA is not interested in giving them the resources they need to be successful with it. And hacking is a huge problem. The servers were really crappy and really inconsistent. You'd have multiple matches where it would be just unplayable because the pings were terrible. Just really bad. And I don't know if that's because they're preparing to like pull out and do something else. But I don't know. But it's really disappointing to see how it's fallen. Okay. This is a pretty solid number. An LCD for 300. Woof. Yeah, dude. I mean, this is where we're at. So 500 being the max, 400. I mean, at the very least, we're looking at over 80% of you guys. Not over 80. We're looking at 65-ish% of you guys would be willing to spend $400, between the 400 and 500 group. So that's decent enough. But then you see like a third of you would not go over 300. And I would be shocked if this thing is priced at 300. I'd be shocked. Be happy, but I'd be shocked. Like that, I just don't see that happening. Do you guys think they would honestly be able to do $300? In the age of 2025, I just cannot fathom a world in which they're like, yeah, we're going to take a loss on every unit. I just don't think they're going to do it. It'll be $399. That's what I would guess. If I had to put money on it, I would guess it's $399. And then they're going to do bundles. They'll do the Mario Kart bundle. They'll do all that stuff. Yeah, in the EU, it's going to be 600 or something. Yeah. If they're going to charge that much, it better be powerful. There's rumors it'll be about in line with like a PS4 Pro. But does that include also the like upscaling stuff? So like, yeah, it can do checkerboarded 4K like the PS4 Pro. Well, it can do when docked, like DLSS upscale to 4K on ultra performance mode. Like at that point, is it really the same? Maybe not. So it's just, we'll see. We'll see, because allegedly they're going to announce it like 2 days from now. We'll see. But I'd be very surprised if it's 300. Very surprised. Okay. Okay. Orc 2077, thank you for subbing with Prime, my friend. Thank you. To be honest, upscales were meant for small screens. I mean, I think they can do extra well on small screens. Because you can't tell as well. The problem with upscalers on small screens is if it's not implemented the right way, you can have problems with text. Because I had this happen with a game recently, just on my plane ride last night. If you crank the upscaler too high to like performance mode, it renders the text also at the lower resolution. And then it tries to upscale it back up and it just can't draw the data out of it. So then the text is illegible. You just can't read it. So that'll be my only concern with it. I know there's probably some way where it can only, like, it upscales the game, but it doesn't upscale the UI. The UI is rendered at full resolution, but I don't know if that's actually something that is commonplace, but I think they should do that. Okay. Let's talk about this new segment. So, the one and only guys. That's not a good lead-in. Okay. Rebel Wolves. Rebel Wolves is a studio, a brand new studio, comprised of former Witcher and Cyberpunk devs that kind of came together, decided they wanted to do something for themselves. They wanted to make their own studio and go crazy in Unreal Engine. They have come out with their trailer. Now, they actually announced that they were going to do the announcement trailer like a month or two ago. I had this bookmarked and saved all this time because I was like, I think this could be something cool. And it looks quite solid. These are just a couple little tidbits just to give you some framing of what we're about to see. But again, we'll look through all of these from Shinobi here in just a minute. But started development 2 years ago in Unreal Engine 5. Full gameplay reveal will be coming in 2025. Okay, summer of 2025. Led by former Witcher 3 game director Conrad, I'm not even going to try, and ex-Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk Quest director Mateus, which you've also probably heard of. And we'll go through this, after we watch the little trailer. But what's clear is that this is a passion project. And some people, people always try to make connections with this stuff. They're like, oh, the devs left the studio. They left this studio, therefore they must hate it, or they must think that it's terrible, or it's imploding, or whatever. No, this has happened for decades. Like, most of the big studios you know of were founded by people who worked at other studios, but left to make their own studio. Doesn't mean they necessarily hated the studio they were leaving. It just meant that they wanted to break out and do their own thing. That's fine. It happens. It's just people want to take a leap and they want to make their own thing and take that risk, and that's what this represents. So let's see what we've got. We're at 4K. Ooh, baby, I'm here for it. What I'm surprised, you can tell it's a cinematic trailer when it's being rendered at 48 frames a second. Do you guys remember the Hobbit? When that came to theaters, and all the stories were how, it's at double the frame rate of a standard movie. It's going to be so smooth. And people were saying that they were going to get like motion sick. People were getting sick watching The Hobbit because it was at 48 frames a second. Those were the days, man. The Hobbit, 48 frames a second. Oh, baby. Now I want to watch The Hobbit again. Okay, anyway, we'll watch this. Bandai is publishing it.
here somewhere.
It's all right.
Lunka! Don't hurt her!
You gave us quite the chase, young.
Please, sir. She's just a child!
Ah, Roderick, remind me. Did I make an exception for children?
No, sire.
No. That would have been foolish, would it not? They spread the plague just as well as adults. And there's only one way to stamp out this sickness.
No!
Not just a runner, but a fighter, too. Had we met under a different moon, things might have ended
Lunka! My sister. She needs help. Fast. Please, let us pass through. I beg of you. Please. Please. I don't know. How?
I am life. I am death. I am everything in between. I have been watching your little valley. Pestilence, famine, killing. Blood spilled carelessly, like water. Things will be different now. For all of you.
Quickly reacting to the cinematic, in a word. What's the word? Hard? Stiff? Throbbing? Maybe? I don't know. What I'm wondering is, in the age of modern gaming, where are the glowing purple zits to pop? Answer me. Where are the purple crystals? Where are those? Where's the witty teenager who like says something obnoxious and then snaps? I don't see any of it. I'm gonna be real. I don't know if this is gonna do well, guys. If I had to score it, it's not gonna get that many purple crystals out of 10. I'll tell you what. Man, I love really dark and unapologetically gory and gritty stories and settings like this, and to just come right out the gate with this, I'm here for it. Because again, these trailers are about setting tone. They're about establishing what you can expect tonally, usually, and I'm loving the tone. That's why usually, like, if you're not reacting well to that first trailer, it will tell you that you're probably not going to like the final game. There's some exceptions where the first trailer doesn't quite hit it and it's not representative of what you end up getting, and it's just a mismatch of marketing versus the product. But in this case, it seems solid. Like when I say that, I'm thinking of like Avowed. That first reveal trailer, really dark with the arrow flying through, goes into the cavern. It's dark. There's a monster out there. You see the purple magic going. I love the look of that. The final look of Avowed, I'm less about, but usually it's kind of tied together. The first reveal shows you what you can expect. But then we get a couple looks at alpha engine footage. That was all cinematics, but this is our first look at alpha engine footage. Let's see. That's very Witcher right there, that tree. The blood of Dawnwalker. Then they're doing a full gameplay reveal this summer. I would guess probably at like Summer Games Fest. That would be my guess, but we'll see. A couple little more tidbits that have been revealed elsewhere that the one and only Shinobi has collected for us that we can point out. So it's a new single player third person fantasy action RPG. It's a mouthful. Basically means that it's going to be like most other fantasy games this time of the generation. Focused on narrative sandbox, no two playthrough. I can't read today. Focused on narrative sandbox, no two playthroughs will be identical. It takes place in Vale Sangora in 14th century medieval Europe. What I will say is like the narrative sandbox, this immediately to me sounded like the narrative Lego bricks thing. If you don't know that, that's what Ken Levine, the guy making Judas, has described his game as, where he's like, each component of the game, it's like a Lego brick. And as you go through the game, you build your own structure out of different Lego bricks. And then you get your own experience, your own thing after you've built it. Could just mean that it's like a choose your own adventure. It could mean that it's a little bit more dynamic than that. In this case, narrative sandbox can just mean that, hey, it's fully open. You can go whichever route you want. You do this quest, that shuts off this quest. You go this quest, you choose to help this person dies and goes away. I kind of like that. I'm open to it. It reminds me also of another vampiric game, which you may have played, you might not have. But it's one that I recommend to people because it's a AA game. I mean, it's not the most incredible like production value thing. But Vampire, this game was really interesting because it was all tied around, of course, you're playing as a vampire, but you can resist it if you want. So basically the way leveling in this game, to oversimplify it, the way leveling works in this game is that if you go and you consume the blood of people in the open world, you will gain power, making combat easier, making boss fights easier, all of that. You'll move through the game much easier, but entire districts in the game will get shut down and overrun with, basically the plague. And those people will die and it'll go into dilapidation and you won't be able to go there to the shops or anything anymore. And so you can shut down entire areas of the map just by feeding on the people there, but it gains you strength and power. So if you want to play like the most moral run through and not consume any innocent's blood, you can do that, but you're actually going to have a much harder time. So it's like the pacifist run being way more difficult because you're not powering up with that blood. Really clever idea, really cool. But this kind of narrative sandbox idea, I think, could follow or at least a similar vein. Get it? Vein. Blood. No. Okay. It's similar vein where if you choose to just play kind of chaotically or evil, and you're just consuming people however you need to gain power, that could make the game easier, or, you know, shut down other areas for you to go to. Takes place, I read that one. The setting has been ravaged by plague, famine, and social disorder, inspired by Eastern European architecture and culture, Polish log houses, Ukrainian Balkan clothing, Romanian defensive churches, and more. The world has been watched by vampires in the shadows, waiting to strike and make their move when humanity is at its lowest, and to overthrow the feudal lords. Seems like this is a good time to do it. Day-night cycle. This is where it gets interesting. Day-night cycle plays a big role. Wanted the world and villages and buildings to feel like a different place after sunset. You play as Cohen, energetic, becomes Dawnwalker, not human, not vampire, something in between, can traverse both worlds of humanity and creatures of the night. Built-in way to do something where you can have the benefits and powers of a vampire, but you can still go out and have a day night cycle. You can still be in the sun and stuff. You fight with swords and weapons by day, and you can use vampiric abilities in combat at night, explore the environment, etc. You have 30, this is really, really interesting. You have 30 in-game days and 30 nights to save your family. They wanted a sense of urgency. When you complete an objective/quest, time moves forward, but time doesn't pass in real world time, and you can manage how to use time as a resource. This goes back to something we talked about with the new Far Cry, because the rumors are the new Far Cry 7 is going to have, similar to like Dead Rising, it's going to have a day-night cycle, but it's going to have a limited number of days for you to save your family. And I personally, I kind of love this stuff. I love it when you as the player are made to feel like the player character. I love that stuff. It's why I loved the epilogue of Red Dead, where, you know, not to be too specific, well, the game's freaking almost 7 years old. Like, I can talk about it. But after the craziness of the end of Red Dead Redemption's story with Arthur, it's just pure chaos and hectic energy everywhere. And then you go, and what do you spend the next 3 hours of gameplay doing after that? You spend it working as a farmhand, like driving to town very slowly, building a fence, talking with your wife and your family. Like, it's very, very slow, but it's done to make you as the player feel like John is feeling, to feel like he just lived this exciting life, and now he's working a pretty boring life in comparison, and he goes stir crazy. And that's part of what they're trying to communicate to the player by making you feel the same way that they're feeling. And with this type of thing, I love the idea of a sense of urgency and this frantic need to save your family, and then actually tasking the player with the same restrictions and the same timelines to be like, no, you're saving your family. Hurry up and save your family. And this is the other piece. They're welcoming multiple run-throughs. I don't know. I do think I know why this has become like, I don't know if it's taboo is the right word, but have you noticed how so many games nowadays are built to just be as big as possible? Because they anticipate that once you roll credits, you are never touching it again. And I think it's probably because they see the stats, and they see the very few people go back and replay games once they finish them, compared to the vast majority of people who start those games. I would argue that that's probably partially, it's kind of like chicken and the egg, which came first. Did people stop replaying games because they're not made to be replayed, or did people stop making games to be replayed because people weren't doing that? It's kind of hard to say. But with this, they're building a game that they are welcoming you to go back through, try again, try another 30-day cycle run, and see if you can come to a different outcome, exploring a different narrative sandbox area, doing something differently, and doing it that way. Maybe you just say screw it to your family. You don't save your family. You just play evil. You help the vampires take over. Maybe you do that. Or maybe you go the other route and you do save your family and you knock it out in 15 days. Maybe you do that, you know, but it encourages you to try different things. And I find that interesting. It's not for everybody, sure, but I love wacky stuff like this. That's just not, it's not part of like the meta. You know, the meta is big open world adventure RPG. That's what everybody tries to do nowadays for the last like 5 years, frankly, not just nowadays, but it seems like everybody, that's the meta, is you just do that. But this is something different. This is something unique, and I like that. You meet many characters throughout the game with their own goals and ambitions, which may make you friends or put you in opposition to them. There's a blood hunger gameplay mechanic where you need to feed throughout your playthrough, similar to most other vampire games. Love that. If you talk to someone and have gone long without feeding first, you might lose control and eat them, even your best friend in the game. Interesting. So they're not even going to pretend to give you like a pacifist run through. Like, you're going to need to feed. Figure it out. Otherwise you might snap. I wonder how this could be represented. Like, is it something where you're just having a dialogue engagement with somebody and then the character just snaps and all of a sudden they just like kill the NPC you're talking to and you have no say in it? Or is it like a mini game where you have to try to resist by like putting in a long string, you know, like when you're entering codes in Just Cause 2, where it's just like Y, X, you know, A, B, B, A, X, A, B, B, Y, A, B. And you got to type it really quickly. Otherwise he eats the person. I don't know if they do that. Let's see. Vampire design. In this world, your vampire's teeth don't stop growing. So the older vampires have a lot of teeth, aren't visible at first, can extend as their mouths open. Okay. Vampires are led by Bronchis, a super powerful old vampire that wants to change the world, twisted old religious beliefs, and took advantage of social turmoil to turn himself into a messianic figure. The vampire leadership aren't black and white, but more gray, as they overthrew violent and corrupt feudal lords, but also kill people to eat, conduct blood masses at church, etc. Brensis, I'm guessing is probably how it's actually pronounced, is a sort of active antagonist that will react to your actions and decisions, will set edicts in the game that will become obstacles to the player, like military checkpoints, etc. Sounds super cool. Sounds super cool. And again, it's being built by people who worked on The Witcher 3, and that really excites me. It's being built in Unreal Engine 5, which is again kind of the meta now, but tonally, in terms of style, in terms of substance, I am here for it. I think the concept is really exciting, and I'm giddy. So this is one to watch. As for when we actually see more of it, I mean, we're looking at something that's, I mean, gameplay reveal in summer 25. I can't imagine it comes out in the next year and a half. I mean, I would think that this probably comes much later, but they've announced it for PS5 and series consoles as well. But when we look at this actual like gameplay stuff, well, in-engine stuff, not necessarily gameplay, let's be clear. This tree, I don't know why this tree with like the ribbons hanging off of it is so Witcher to me. I don't know why, but it just looks Witcher. But you can see castles. There's a whole city down here, implying there's going to be a big open world, at least a decent sized open world. So there's that. But man, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I love vampire stuff. I love dark, gritty stuff. It seems tailor-made for somebody like me. So I am very, very intrigued. And I can't wait to see the gameplay reveal, the full gameplay reveal. So I don't know. What do you guys think? What's your thoughts on all of this? The higher vampire in Toussaint? Detlef? Do you mean him? Let's see. Very intrigued. It's a W. There's a developer doc video where the devs dive deep into the game, kind of similar to the KCD2 reveal video. Yeah, I think that's where Shinobi got all this stuff recapped. Is this it? No. Yeah, man. I think it looks awesome. Want to see more? I like how it looks. Certain cameo. Hate the urgency feature, but other than that, it's cool. Yeah, I think, you know, some people, they play these games in a very chill, relaxed style. You know, they want to just explore. They want to kind of work their way through it at their pace. So the idea of having this thing where it's like, no, you can do that side quest, but that's going to take a day, and then you only have 29 left before your family dies and it's game over. Like, again, some people hate that. I kind of love it, frankly. I kind of eat that up, but I understand why people might not like it. Dude, YouTube's recommendations are crazy, man. Look at this. So first of all, Witcher 3 critique, which you should go watch, but also DLSS problem, The Office, Oval Office edition. Okay. Markiplier getting evacuated. But then look at this. Nosferatu dancing to Lady Gaga from 15 years ago. May of 2009. This is in my recommendations. And I clicked on it. They got me. It's literally. Oh, and he's wearing a Chris Angel shirt. Dude. What a throwback. Where's Chris Angel now? That's unbelievable. I didn't even notice. He's got the Mind Freak poster in the background. Dude, I was just so focused on his dance moves. That's so funny. Mind Freak! Dude, this guy's edgy. Why does he also have a Brad Pitt picture, though? Like, what is this? Man. What a Chad. That's fantastic. Didn't he get canceled? Did he? I thought he just like stopped his show. Chris Angel. He's almost 60. Dude. Yeah, I don't know. This is him just like a couple weeks ago. You should do a TV show. He used to perform at the Luxor. I remember that was his big claim to fame, is that he would perform at the Luxor. Dude's still selling all of his like Mind Freak stuff. Pictures of him when he's 20. It's a little sad. I mean, it is a little sad. That's funny. Sadly, we went to his show and sat on the side in the front row and we could see the harness he was wearing. No, you're telling me he's wearing a harness here? No. No. That's freaking funny, dude. I feel like he doesn't show his face hardly at all. Is that just me? It seems a little... It's so weird seeing him old now, dude. It's so weird. I still think of him as like back when he was 20 doing his show. That's crazy. Anyway. Okay, let's do this. New segment. It's a new year. 2025. It's upon us. 2024 was an awesome year. 2023 was an amazing year. But this year has also got to be an amazing year. I mean, there's so many games coming. There's so much to talk about. So many new, fresh games, exciting games, new things to look at so we don't have to talk about the same stuff over and over and over again, you know? But this is Luke Stevens live. I mean, of course, I have to talk about the leak thing of Starfield's gore system that was cut. How could I not? Do you have any idea how many people sent me this on X? Sent me DMs with this link being like, hey, you should talk about this when you get back from vacation. I have to. I have to. We have to, man. Man. This, I will say it was one of the weirder things that Starfield had no gore system compared to Fallout and Elder Scrolls and stuff, because Fallout, they built out a pretty solid gore system for that game. And I remember before Starfield came out, watching some of the trailers and being like, is there no gore? Like, even when the bullets were hitting people, there wasn't really any blood spatter or anything. So it was really, really weird to see. And of course, it ended up that they just cut it. They just didn't have it. But now we know why. So as you can see in this article by Michael, Starfield once had a gore system similar to Fallout. A former Bethesda dev explains why it was removed. Interesting. So they talk a bit about like the response to it. Their first original IP in decades, it was unable to surpass the likes of Skyrim or Fallout, but still found an audience that plays it to this day. So why hasn't this been successful or as successful? There are plenty of reasons, blah, blah, blah. We've been through that before. I made an 8-hour video explaining what I think about it, but this is interesting. Kiwi asked, why was gore removed in Starfield specifically, like Fallout or Skyrim? According to Dennis, it came down to scope and themes. Quote, that has a lot of implications with the different suits from a technical perspective. There's a lot that has to go with it. You have to cut the helmet in a certain way. You have to meet caps to the bottom where the flesh is. We had systems for all of that, and it got turned into a big rat's nest of all these things you have to count for. I can understand that. Helmets, backpacks, their various attachments become a nightmare to continuously add dismemberment elements. At some point, the amount of other elements or other items that continue being added into the game that a system like that we need to account for, it becomes best to go without it. They crossed a point where the benefits of abandoning the system outweighed having it in place. This to me seems like the most reasonable one. It just didn't really make sense to keep it. It just seemed like there was just too much. And frankly, like, Starfield was not going to be made or broken by having a gore system. Its problems were numerous and were far beyond just that. So I don't think that that's a big deal. I'm surprised to see that they worked on it for as long as they did and then they cut it later, but still, it's a little funny. I do think like it contributed to the narrative though, it not having a gore system, which was that all of the cool stuff that Bethesda had done before with Fallout, Skyrim, any of those others, they were almost actively trying to avoid doing those cool things in Starfield. So whether it was handcrafted environments, whether it was like really well thought out exploration with a carefully crafted map and all of that stuff was slowly cut out to the point where the only thing left in Starfield were the things that Bethesda's not very good at, procedural stuff and sheer quantity of repeated locations and things like that. And so I think that it not being there contributed to the narrative that, you know, they were just all the stuff people liked, they weren't doing now. Continuing, he specified that it also came down to a thematic decision in how dismemberment or lack thereof was presented. Quote, Fallout is very stylized in that regard. It's meant to be tongue-in-cheek humor. You know, that perk you get where you can make a mess out of something. It's part of the fun. I think for Starfield, it was definitely meant to be more of a more lo-fi and realistic. It's like The Expanse, Star Trek, stuff like that. I think it just didn't fit thematically. On top of that, you have the technical overhead cost to get that to work, where it's probably better not to include it in this game. And I think that makes sense. Thematically, would have made the game maybe have more character. It would have perhaps been more fun, and we just simply can't have that. Why is the alert box working on this one but not on this one? Hold on. There we go.
The Distinguished Dragon donated $20 through Super Chat.
Thank you, my friend.
Hey Luke, welcome back. Open mouth smile. I was surprised to see Pocket Pair released a game called Overdunion on the Switch last week. Could you explain why Nintendo would agree to put a Pocket Pair game on their console?
It seems odd. It was going to finish, but it didn't finish. That's a good question. Thank you for the 20, first of all. As for why they would do it, I'm trying to think if there's other examples of similar type games that would have gone on. Because obviously the implication is Pocket Pair being the guys from Pal World. Why would they do that? I think maybe there's a fear of like legal repercussions if they were to do that, if they were to come out and not allow their company to publish anything on their stores. Maybe they just don't want to deal with it. It could also be that maybe they think I don't know. My guess would be that it's just something where they didn't have a reason to say no other than just being petty, and they're trying to win in a courtroom, and so they don't want to play that game. They don't want to get themselves in trouble where Pocket Bear could point to that and be like, see, they're punishing us elsewhere because they're upset about this litigation that we're involved with, or this legal battle we're involved with. So therefore it should be dismissed and they should face punitive damages or something. Like, my guess is that's what it is, that they just felt like it wasn't worth the drama. It's not worth the drama. Did you hear about games shutting down like D&D Dark Alliance? Yeah, we've talked about it before. We talked about that like 2-3 days, I don't think weeks ago, maybe a month or two ago. It was before vacation, of course, but yeah. But yeah, I think that it's probably they just didn't have a reasonable justification. If they win the lawsuit, who knows? Maybe then they shut it down once they feel like they don't have to be on their best behavior. But whenever you're going into court, you don't want to be rocking the boat too much at that point. You smile, you nod, you do your business, you don't mess with it. Then you can throw a fit later, you know. Yeah. I'm really excited. I hope that they do reveal Switch 2 on Thursday. I think that'd be badass. Have even more stuff. Okay. Should we talk about this one? Let's talk about this. You ready for this one? Let's talk about this. Okay. New segment. Tom Anderson, Insider Gaming. Analysis. Ubisoft faces its most challenging year in its history. I think this is undoubtedly true. Challenging being perhaps even a generous word, because for them, this is a full-on make or break year. The release of Shadows, I think, is going to be the most consequential release probably of the entire year for any studio, because it will basically make or break the next few years for Ubisoft. Because, and I'm sure he's going to talk about this as we go through the article, but basically the understanding is if Ubisoft sees success with Shadows, if Shadows pops off, does really well financially, not just in terms of like engagement and sentiment, but if it sells well and makes a lot of money, then they keep themselves afloat for a while. Because they'll have some cash flow, they'll have some positive sentiment. They can go into negotiations with Tencent with a little bit more confidence, a little more chutzpah maybe. But if it does not pop off, if it's not just like a smash hit that blows up, makes tons of money, hundreds of millions of dollars, then they're in trouble. Then there's nothing really keeping them afloat at that point beyond the reliance on Tencent to kind of cash flow them forward. So as far as I can tell, if Shadows does well, Ubisoft has a year or two to figure out their stuff. Hopefully they can get out, hopefully for their sake, they can get out some other stuff like Far Cry 7 or Black Flag Remake and some other stuff that finds success and makes some money. And then they can maybe start to patch themselves up. If Shadows fails, I don't think they have that time. I think then within like 6 months, you'll hear news of some deal between Tencent and the Guillemot brothers, massive restructurings, project cancellations, layoffs, stuff like that. Because I don't think there's any other option at this point. They're in serious trouble. And they're running out of money, which is the other piece. 2024 was nothing short of a disaster. Whoops, I did not mean to press that. Damn it. Hold on. That's what I get for right-clicking on stuff. 2024 was nothing short of a disaster year for Ubisoft. In fact, it's safe to say that it's had a rough few years. Ubisoft stock has fallen from its February 2021 high of 84 euros, 60. What is it in Europe? It's not P. That's Britain. I don't know. 84 euros roughly to a mere 12.53 at the time of writing. That's a massive 85% reduction in stock price from its all-time high. Is it just cents? Really? Euro cents? Cents? Oh, well, who knew? Let's see. Oh, also Jacob, if you're in here, just make sure when we're putting these up, put the link to the article in the description just so people can see it. I think you already do that, but I just want to make sure we're doing it. So to put that into perspective, if you invested $1,000 into Ubisoft during its peak, you'd now only be left with $150, which is what's known in the industry as a bad investment. Icky, maybe. Now, granted, you can do this with like literally any company if you take their peak performance and then look at it later and be like, ooh, it's lower, therefore it's bad. For a long time, let me see if I can pull this one up. They actually kind of dug themselves out of a hole. Carvana was going to explode for a while, but then they managed to dig themselves out. But Carvana back in like August of 2021, $361 a share. Just back in 2023, they were trading down at $474. That's a much worse drop than what Ubisoft has seen. So Carvana went from these heights to rock bottom, like literally scraping the bottom of the barrel that holds all the other barrels whose bottoms you were scraping. And then look, they dug themselves out of it. They actually managed to dig themselves out of it. And now they're actually doing quite well. So I think it's never impossible. You can certainly make a comeback. You can dig yourself out of this, but it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of dedication, and you have to identify the key problems and deal with it. For Carvana, there were a lot of major problems with their company as it was exploding in the post-COVID era with really low interest rates, people buying tons of cars because the rates were so low. And then the second the rates went up, people stopped borrowing, people stopped doing that, and all of a sudden their stock price starts to implode because they're like, investors like, hey, well, then it doesn't make any sense anymore. And then they figured it out and they started building themselves back up, and they did it. So it's not impossible that Ubisoft could do the same thing, to be very, very clear. But they have to identify the key problems, and then they have to deal with them. And I think we all know the key problems, but we'll see. So far, its current fiscal year has not been great either, and has seen poor financial results attributed to games missing internal expectations, increased development costs, game cancellations and delays, the years of mismanagement, overspending, and generally just being out of touch with the gaming sphere, have led Ubisoft to a crossroads. Ultimately, it'll be the developers that suffer the consequences, and with Ubisoft's future seemingly hanging in the balance of just one AAA game, that being AC Shadows, we might not have to wait long to see how things shake out. I cannot fathom the pressure they are under. I cannot fathom the pressure they're under. Imagine you're one of the like 400 to 500 people that are the main devs on this game. And if this does not pop off, if this is not like the biggest game you've ever had, your company's ever had, you and many other members of the 20,000 employees are going to lose their jobs, and the whole thing's going to be restructured and everything's going to fall apart. Like, I can only imagine the pressure. Now, to Ubisoft's credit, the bit that they get, they have delayed the game. They've given devs more time. I don't think they had an option. based on some of the stuff that they said around the time that the delay hit. Like Marc Alexis Cotier went and spoke at a conference kind of thing, a panel sort of interview in the wake of the delay, and he brought up other games that they delayed. He brought up like AC Unity, which could be reading into it. It sounded to me like he was comparing Shadows to Unity, and that's why they needed to delay it. And I'm like, if it was that bad, if it was that broken and you were gonna launch it, I'm not sure how much 3 months will do or 4 months will do. But they've delayed it a good amount, and then they just delayed it again into March, where now it will basically have the entire month to itself. So it's going to really have the best possible chance to do well. It's not competing with Monster Hunter at this point. It's not competing with Kingdom Come. It just gets its own month. So they now have more time, and they have even more space. But I mean, they have to nail it. There's no other way to describe it. They have to nail it. Buyout talks. It's been widely reported that Ubisoft is currently in talks with advisors about ways to stabilize the business, with most recent reports suggesting that Tencent was set to buy out the company and take it private. Those talks seem to have stopped as a significant term in negotiations revolved around the Guillemot brothers' insistence on retaining control, which is likely a term that Tencent probably wouldn't want to agree to. After all, the Guillemot brothers essentially put Ubisoft in this predicament in the first place, which absolutely is true. My stance has been for years that as long as the Guillemot family is in charge, I don't see the company magically changing. We've been down this road before. You guys remember Ghost Recon Breakpoint? Remember that? That was what, 2018, 2019, something like that. It was such a disastrous launch. Do you know what they did? They delayed their entire lineup. They delayed half dozen games by months and months to restructure, to earn back consumer confidence. Like, this has happened before. They don't learn. They just wait until they think you forgot and then try to do it again, rushing out stuff that isn't ready, that's kind of buggy, that needed more time, that needed more resources put behind it. And then when they get caught with their pants down, then they delay stuff and act like they we're really sorry. And they're not. They've done this so many times before. It's not the devs' fault that they're being forced to push these games out so quick. The devs were begging, according to the reports, the devs were begging to get a delay for Shadows, for Outlaws, for all of these games that they've put out in recent years that were a little rushed or even a lot rushed. And it's only with Shadows that they finally listened after the failed performance of Star Wars Outlaws. So I just want to be clear, like, they get credit for delaying it because delaying it is a good move and was the right choice. But let's not get it twisted. Like, they've never learned, and they've done this many times before. So it's not like they're going to magically learn this time. So Tencent demanding to take control of it and get new management, I think is very reasonable for them. They're like, hey, if we're going to spend $1 billion buying you out, we want new management. Guillemot family says no. So that's that. I would like to think the Guillemot family would relinquish control to save tens of thousands of employees from mass layoffs once the company is totally going belly up. But I mean, at this point, I think that they might not care. I don't know. But I hope they're coming up with some solution that can protect those employees, because the employees are just doing the best work they possibly can. The employees are doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. All of this is like executive problems. This is all with the management. For now, the negotiation halt seems to be a strategy both sides are playing. Tencent will continue to snap up shares and raise its stake. At the same time, the Guillemot brothers will want to wait until late February to early March to reignite negotiations, as Ubisoft is set to release the highly anticipated AC Shadows on February 14th. That has now been moved to March 20th. So it is now no longer February 14th. In Assassin's Creed Shadows, failure gives Tencent more opportunities to increase its stake at a lower share value. Conversely, a successful launch gives the Guillemot brothers more negotiation power to head into further talks. The problem with this, they have a deal right now where they can't increase their stake above 10%. So Tencent can't actually do that. I'm sure there are also stipulations that they can't go and find a secondary partner or a shell company to buy anything up either. Because that's something other corporations will do if they're trying to buy them out. They'll go and they'll like, hey, Tencent and Embracer Group are partnering on this acquisition. And that's how they get around these like problems. But I think that I personally think that there's probably limitations to what they can do, and they probably thought of that because billions of dollars are on the line, and when billions are on the line, people tend to pay attention to details. They continue. It seems that, at least by my own sources, the move could favor the Guillemot brothers more. By all accounts from various Ubisoft sources, pre-orders for the game were high before the game's delay and are still looking strong, but expectedly still behind that of Valhalla, which was released on both past and current generation consoles at the time. AC Shadows seems to be Ubisoft's last major lifeline, and even if the game is a tremendous success, it doesn't necessarily mean that Ubisoft is out of the woods. This is the key thing to understand, okay? And I know some people are going to get hung up on this. This has been reported by like 3 different outlets that we've read articles on stream about, that we've talked about. You may not like it, but according to people behind the scenes who are also talking about how dysfunctional the company is and how everything's going poorly, those same people bad-mouthing the company are also saying, yeah, but the pre-orders are pretty strong. You don't have to like it. I think it's crazy people are pre-ordering games like in general, but the pre-orders are apparently strong. Okay, so like take it or leave it. That is, it is what it is. It's not like they're trying to hype it up. These are the sources that are also bad-mouthing the company and are trashing the company for various reasons, and they're still saying that the pre-orders are strong. So, whether that's strong enough to be a smash hit is a separate question, but apparently they consider the numbers strong. But this is the difference, okay? There's a few different standards, okay? There's like on the scale of success. There is flop territory. Okay? There is, let's say, below expectations. We'll say meets expectations. Okay. And then exceeds expectations. Okay. There's a few different ways, and we'll say, this is the break-even point. So this right here is how much money they spent. This is how much money they spent on the game. They have to get there to break even. A game can come in here. We'll say that this is below expectations, but it still breaks even. We'll just say that that's where this is, break even and below expectations, because they want to make money. They don't want to just break even. If something lands in this range, it's just a flop because it's losing money. So we'll say it's a flop. But if something can break even, make a little bit of money, it still might not meet expectations. It still might be considered below expectations. It still might be, disappointing because it didn't make that much money, but it still could be good. If it comes in and lands like right here, hey, it met expectations. We made a good amount of money on it. We're feeling good. And then if it does even better and it pops off up here, then, we're really, really excited because we're just making tons of money. All of this is just pure profit and we're happy. But this is where I think some people get mixed up. There's lots of games that we've seen where they land in this like bubble where maybe it performed below expectations, not quite meeting expectations, but it's still not considered a flop. It can still be above above your absolute minimum, or maybe below your expectations, but it still doesn't mean it's a flop, because flop typically is defined as like it lost tons of money, it was a total disaster. Like did Dragon Age Veilguard, is that considered a flop? I don't think so, because I don't think they expected it to perform up here. I think this whole bar was shifted down. I think they were not expecting it to pop off that much. But with Shadows, all of this is kind of skewed because Shadows can't just break even. Shadows has to like pop off up here. Even if it goes in a regular year, it would have just needed to hit here. This still is not good enough to save the company. They need it to pop off. And that's going to be the tricky bit, is they're comparing it to Valhalla. Valhalla launched in COVID. Valhalla launched at a time where there was not a lot else to play. The marketing cycle for Valhalla had extreme hype behind it. There was, as far as I can remember, like I don't think there was any real drama behind it. I remember some people being pissy about the female protagonist shown in some of the trailers, but I remember also this trailer, 9.4 million views, 324,000 likes. I mean, people were, it might be hard to believe, people were hyped for this, for a Ubisoft game. Just 4 years ago, people were losing their minds, were super, super excited for it. Super excited for it. And made them a ton of money, made them $1 billion. They took in $1 billion in revenue from this. You know, it printed money for them. So this is also the other thing to remember with this. I'm just going to like mention it. Different time period, 4 years ago, a different world. Was kind of a different world. Every like 5 years or so, the pendulum in the gaming industry swings. Some years it is on, it's on EA, because EA does something really stupid. The next year it swings and PlayStation does something stupid, launches Concord 2, whatever. And then it'll swing back, and then CDPR launches Cyberpunk and it's a total disaster. And so they decide, you know, like that company now is the whipping post of the industry. Just swings. Right now, it has swung pretty much as far towards Ubisoft as it possibly can. Okay. It's hard to imagine people being even less trusting of like a Ubisoft marketing promise or something, right? But this has always happened. Back in 2017, 18, 19, it was EA with the loot boxes that they were pumping out. It was Take-Two. It was Warner Brothers with the loot boxes in Shadow of War. You know, of course, you remember Battlefront 2. That debacle was so terrible, Disney had to step in and yell at EA for how over monetized they did that, because they thought it was doing permanent brand damage to the Star Wars brand. Like, there was so many problems in that game, or in that era, for those companies. And at that time, Ubisoft was doing pretty solid. They had Origins, they had Odyssey and Valhalla coming, and they were doing pretty well. It's been the last 4 to 5 years that they have just steadily been screwing up consistently. And that's why it's a managerial issue. And that's why I think as long as this management team is in place, we can't have a lot of confidence in them righting the ship. But I do want to just say, like, in 2 years, I don't think Ubisoft will be the target of all of this anymore. I think there will be another company. You already see some of these people trying to shift and get raging at CDPR for Witcher 4 for the gall of having Series B protagonist. You're seeing some of those people freak out at PlayStation for Ghost of Yotei, or at Rockstar for GTA 6 for Lucia, is that her name? Whatever that protagonist is. So you're seeing some of this just swing. There's always going to be rage and energy maybe in the industry towards certain companies. Right now, all of it is focused on Ubisoft, but I guarantee you, probably even by the end of 2025, it's going to be focused on a different company, because that's just how this works. You know, it swings. The pendulum swings. So we'll see how it goes. But I mean, it all lies on shadows. It really, really depends on how this goes. Mismanagement hell. Ubisoft and mismanagement go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. Over the last few years, I've reported on countless projects that have faced mismanagement issues, and it seems it'll never change at face value. For the most part, it comes down to upper management's personal friendships and family, with one looking out for another at the expense of thousands of frustrated developers. This 1 billion %. Ubisoft, at its core, is a family company. It is a family run company. It's like that tow truck company in your local town. It's run by a handful of brothers and their dad. And even though Uncle Tom has 15 DUIs, they still let him drive the towing truck because they don't want to deal with the drama if they kick him out of the company, because they're all in the same family and they got to put up with it. And then, you know, yeah, the Vin Diesel family. And then you got, you know, Grandpa is also blind and senile, and he keeps towing cars into the reservoir, and because he thinks that that's where you drop them off to be fixed by the magical car elves. And even though you need to force him to retire, he refuses because he thinks he still has got it. And because it's a family business, they can't just make the clear decisions that need to be made. They can't just fire him for having the DUIs. They can't just force him out because he's senile. They can't do the things they need to do because it's family. And that causes problems. That can cause a lot of issues because it prevents you, having a family business prevents you from sometimes making those difficult decisions, because it can, for many family businesses, tear the family apart because people will be willing to destroy their personal relationships over that. I can admire that, desiring to keep the family tight. I can appreciate that. But at the same time, if you have 20,000 employees, at some point you got to think about them. And for Ubisoft, like, they, as this sentence I think very accurately puts it, for the most part, it comes down to upper management's personal friendships and family, with one looking out for another at the expense of thousands of frustrated developers. Something I've heard it from people who work at Ubisoft. I've heard it from people who have previously worked at Ubisoft. Everybody there is very frustrated with the executive team, but they can't say anything while they're there because, again, it's family. And Eve right now, even though there is a lifeline ready for Ubisoft in the form of Tencent to buy them out, take it private, restructure, deal with that stuff, they don't want to do it. They don't want to do it because they'd have to let go of control. Yeah, it's called nepotism, and it's not that cool. I agree, B7. I think you're right. Yeah. I mean, it is literally nepotism. But that's also why it's not as simple as just getting rid of Yves Guillemot. Because when you have a, let's see. Let me just get a generic org chart. Okay, this is not specific to any one company. This is just something I Googled. Corporate chart, org chart, same thing. As you can see here, let's just say this is Yves Guillemot, okay? I don't know what company this is for, but let's just say this is Yves Guillemot at the top. If you fire him, and we'll say that each of these people with a green dot are Ubisoft, like Guillemot family friends or family members, like cousins, nephews, uncles, brothers, sisters, that type of thing. Of these people, you get rid of Eve, you still have the problem with all these people kind of looking out for each other, helping each other. If they screw up, one person kind of shoves the report of their misconduct under the table. If they should have been fired, they don't get fired because this person looked out for them and covered for them. All of these problems persist. So you kind of have to then go and steadily clear out all of it, which is why it would be just a gutting. I mean, this is why it would be such a dirty, messy reorganization if Tencent took them over, because they'd have to do this. I mean, Tencent, they know what they're doing. They're the most profitable game company in the world. They take in like tens upon tens of billions of dollars every year. They know what they're doing, and they are not so stupid as to leave those people in their positions. So they could cut out maybe Eve as the leader and then be like, hey, there's a new boss in town. The standard is none of this flies. If we find out you're looking out for somebody that you have a relation to, you're done. And over time, you know, people will retire. They'll move to other companies. They'll move on because now the cash cow isn't there. Now it's no longer the family business that they can kind of mess around in. It's not as fun, you know, and eventually they'll leave. or they'll get booted out because they screw up. And eventually it'll sort itself out. But that's just the problem, is that for Ubisoft, it's not as simple as just get rid of the one guy, you know. It's a much bigger problem than all of that. Continuing on, the most public projects that have struggled are the likes of Ubisoft's self-proclaimed quadruple A title, Skull and Bones and Beyond Good and Evil 2, with the latter still not having a public release date despite being announced 16 years ago. But beyond the more prominent titles, the mismanagement at the company has led to countless projects being canceled or in a confusing stage of development without any end in sight. One notable game, codenamed Project U, recently returned to the drawing board after 5 years of development and saw its budget balloon in size. One developer who worked on the project said they wouldn't be surprised if it already exploded past the $100 million mark. How on earth do you spend $100 million on something that almost without a doubt is going to flop? Like, what are we doing? X-Defiant, one of the most promising free-to-play shooters at Ubisoft, and to be honest, in the entire industry over the last decade, released half-baked thanks to the same fate of the mismanagement and higher-ups only looking out for themselves. After the game's initially impressive numbers, developers told me that the writing was on the wall for months and that they would eventually close due to the massive drop-off and lack of player spending. The game was losing several $1 million in development costs alone, and that's without the initial development costs, servers, and on top of that, and more on top, a cost that Ubisoft could... My goodness, I'm tired. A cost that Ubisoft couldn't afford in its current state, nor see a future where it could become profitable, a profitable title due to its own doing. In the end, Ubisoft's mismanagement presents a serious challenge for the company moving forward, despite Ubisoft's board launching an investigation into the company's struggles, of which 5 members are from the Guillemot family, by the way. They're investigating themselves to see if they think they have done anything wrong. Like, we can't figure out what's wrong. I mean, we've done everything correct. It's crazy, dude. Like, sometimes I wonder, I'm like, do they really think that they're doing this reasonably? No one, at least to those I've talked to, believes it will lead to any change. Speaking with past and current Ubisoft employees at various levels of the company, it's widely speculated that CEO Yves Guillemot would rather go down with the Skull and Bones ship rather than give up his position, with a similar sentiment reflected about the other Guillemot brothers. It's a hurdle the company will somehow need to overcome wherever Assassin's Creed Shadows lands, even if it's a success. Ubisoft's latest annual internal survey, which allows employees to somewhat anonymously, I say this because departments and studios are not anonymous, give feedback to the company. And that survey showed that employee trust in the company is staggeringly low. While I do not have an exact number for the entire company, some studios had an overall company trust level as low as 15 to 20%. Purposely being vague here because he doesn't want to say like of 16%, because then Ubisoft could look at it and be like, oh, that was this company. Somebody at this studio is talking to this guy. Okay. And this is, again, is just another piece to remember. The people that are working at Ubisoft are making the best games they can. Those people that are at the studios, that are working on the games, only 15 to 20% of those people think that the company is in the right track and the company leadership knows what they're doing and they trust in the leadership and all that. I find it hard to imagine that. Like, that's crazy. That's like Congress levels of approval. I mean, that's crazy. But no wonder people are gonna, you're gonna have difficulties honing in on talent and preserving that talent when you have such little confidence from those employees. They've got games coming. They've got Far Cry. They've got Splinter Cell Remake, Shadows, Hexe, Black Flag Remake, Rayman. Division 3 is like 3 to 5 years away probably. Sands of Time is coming at some point. Ghost Recon. I mean, they've got projects coming, but the thing is, all of these projects take a lot of money. They take a lot of time, and that is Like, those are the two things that Ubisoft probably does not have a lot of. Because they are in a spot where if they're not careful, like they could get in some trouble. And they've got some cash on hand. I mean, they've got this kind of last minute thing they posted in January 9th. Net bookings are now expected around 300 million, primarily reflecting lower than expected holiday sales, mainly for Star Wars Outlaws, as well as the discontinuation of X Defiant. They still expect approximately break-even non-IFRS operating income and free cash flow for fiscal year 24 to 25. Net bookings are now expected to come in around 1.9 billion euros and include new partnership opportunities for Ubisoft's games and franchises, as well as for the monetization of streaming rights acquired last fiscal year. Yves Guillemot, the CEO, he says, we made good progress on the strategic and execution reviews initiated a few months ago and are confident that this will position Ubisoft for a stronger future. We have taken decisive steps to reshape the group in order to deliver best-in-class player experiences, enhance operational efficiency, and maximize value creation. We also recently appointed leading advisors. Again, I think this is the same team where 5 of them are family members, and are actively exploring various strategic and capitalistic options to unlock the full value potential of our assets. We are convinced that there are several potential paths to generate value from Ubisoft's assets and franchises. Additionally, we are all behind our team's efforts to create the most ambitious Assassin's Creed opus of the franchise and made the decision to provide an extra month of development to Shadows in order to better incorporate player feedback gathered over the past 3 months that will enable us to fully deliver on the potential of the game and finish the year on a strong note. Man. They're expecting to break even on non-IFRS operating income. This right here, standard and mandatory reporting, software, not defined, IFRS, where's just, revenue, non-IFRS. In accordance with IFRS, contracts obtained in acquisition are accounted at fair value as of the acquisition date. In subsequent periods, the respective revenue will not be shown in full and does not correspond to the revenues the acquired company would have reported if it had been taken over by Software AG. Accordingly, IFRS revenues. Okay. So this is specifically for that company, but for this, it's all based on the reporting standards. And the reason why this is important when you read little bitty things like this is because there's different ways of accounting for revenue, right? Like if we sign a deal and let's just say this is the timeline. Okay. This is today. Yay. And this is 2026. Okay. And we'll say that this is like just the year broken up, right? If I sign a deal today and it's for $100 million, I'm going to get paid as I deliver things over the next 3 months. Okay. Some accounting standards, and I can't tell, I think that's what they're using here, will allow you to account for that full $100 million at this point, even though it's requiring you to complete the work over here. It just won't be accounted for over here. So you can get the cash represented earlier, which can make your financial position look a little better, which is nice if you're trying to look like you're breaking even in a terrible year. But it also means that next year is not going to actually be that good because you already accounted for the revenue beforehand. And that's why when we see this, like, they expect to break even in non-IFRS operating profit and free cash flow for fiscal year 2024 to 25. Their now expected net bookings are 1.9 billion euros. Like, cool, but there's a lot of messy stuff with the finances we'll see in the final quarterly reports and annual reports that go up at the end of their fiscal year at the end of March. But until then, we're just kind of guessing on what their overall bookings are like. They still take in a lot of money. I mean, to be clear. They're taking in $300 million or 300 million euros in one quarter. Their net bookings are expected for the year to be around 1.9 billion. I mean, they still take in a lot of money, but for 20,000 employees and some extremely expensive studio space and retail space, like they just can't do that. Not retail space, studio space. So without a doubt, Ubisoft is in a bad spot. They need this to pop off. They need this to be not just a well-received game. They need this to be like the most well-received game in terms of revenue, in terms of money generated. They need that. And I've been thinking about it, you know, like what are the odds that they can actually pull this off? And I think that there's a couple factors to it, but really at the end of the day, the only way that this works is if the game is really good. That's the only way you can see it. The people that were saying that Indiana Jones was going to flop because there were women in the game, they were like part of the same crowd, like the anti-DEI, anti-woke kind of YouTuber sphere, maybe is the word. They were bashing Indiana Jones, and then the game comes out and it ends up being really, really good. And then those people shut up real quick and move on to the next game to bash. And I think if Shadows ends up being really, 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 really good, something similar could happen too. And that could help. But beyond that, I don't see how any of this could work. They've got to have some big smash success in terms of the quality. And even then, though, I don't know if people will be buying it day one. Like, a lot of people, I think, will just wait for a sale. I do agree Shadows is in a deeper hole. There's been much more drama around it than surrounding like Shadow or Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones did not have anywhere near the hole to dig themselves out of, but I do think if Shadows is really, really, really good and people play it and are like, actually, dude, this is fire, and the clips start going viral on TikTok, if it still exists at that point, and all of that, then I think you could see it finding some success. But it's going to take something like that. It's going to take a lot of it's going to take that sort of grassroots success. If the game is okay, I don't think there's no chance. Do you personally think Shadows will actually be good though? So I've not played it. I have not seen any more than you guys in terms of like gameplay and stuff like that. So I'm just going off of what we've seen that's been made public. Okay. So I want to be clear about that. I'm not speaking with like some secret knowledge. As of today, I have not seen anything. You have not. My feeling is, after seeing the gameplay clips and stuff that they've revealed, I do think the game will be better than a lot of people are expecting. I just from what I've seen, I think it will be. And there's a few reasons for that. Let me see if I can pull up like from Jor, like some of this new stealth and parkour gameplay. I really think the game is going to be like visually stunning. I think it's going to be gorgeous. Just seeing some of the improvements they've made in the last couple months, I think it's going to be ridiculously beautiful. I think it's going to be massive as well, and I think that's going to do a lot for it. It's going to have things like the PS5 Pro enhancements, so PlayStation's going to be marketing it a lot, which is going to help. And I think in terms of how it's put together, it will be more impressive than people are giving it credit for. And I'm saying that as somebody that thought the initial gameplay reveal wasn't that crazy impressive. I was just kind of like, But they've made such big improvements since the delays that I'm starting to get much more convinced that this could be very well executed. As for whether the story is interesting or Yasuke or any of that works out, who knows? We can't really tell from these clips and stuff, but the things they've described about the lighting systems, about the weather systems, parkour systems, all of that seems to be significantly overhauled. And you guys are right. There these are just small, short clips of gameplay. That's all they've revealed so far. And I think it's because they are waiting to show the full like gameplay for when they do press previews and stuff like that. I think they're going to like let people play it and play 45 minutes of it or an hour of it or something, and then talk about it at length. I think that's the key. But like, see, this gameplay didn't really wow me. This looked much more like Valhalla than anything else I had seen. But what they're showing nowadays is way better. Like even just this footage, which this is the I think George said he took this from X. So this is the compressed footage. But even just this, the animation stuff, the post-processing, the weather effects, way better than it was even over the summer. So I think that it's going to be more impressive than people are expecting. Whether that's enough is a separate question, though. Edwin, thank you for the 5. For me, the problem with AC Shadows is the problem with Ubisoft games. Even if it looks amazing, it's going to be even better 50% off 6 months later. Yeah, well, that's... I spoke to somebody who works at Ubisoft, and I said exactly that. I was like, the problem for Ubisoft at the end of the day is that people will wait. Like 6 months. Sometimes 3 months. Sometimes 3 months. And they're just going to wait and get it at a 50% off discount, 60% off discount, and be a happy camper. That's what they're going to do. And I mean, at that point, can you blame them? The only reason they would buy it day one is if the game is so exciting and looks so cool that they want to do that. And the other piece is the people will buy games day one if they want to support the developer, if they want to vote with their wallet. There's a lot of people that probably could manage to wait 6 months to play Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and get it on sale, because most games go on sale after 6 months. But they want to buy it day one at full price to support the studio because they're rooting for them. They want them to be successful. Ubisoft, the problem is their executive staff is so loathed by the industry that a lot of the industry doesn't want them to be successful. They don't want to give them money. They don't want Yves Guillemot to get a bigger bonus. They don't want that. So they'll actively avoid it. Like there's just no reason for them to take that extra effort and do that. You know, they'll just wait. Wait 6 months. Okay, let me catch up on these real quick. Best Ubisoft game in your opinion? I'm going to go old school AC2. That's my favorite. Nissan, thank you for the 5. Random theory. Prostitutes will be pulled from GTA 6 for narrative reasons. Outlaw couple and you won't be allowed to cheat. A la RDR. Perfect excuse. I mean, but they already showed like the strip clubs and stuff. And if they're already going to the trouble of doing like strip clubs and doing, having like some really, let's just say graphic stuff, I would be surprised if they then stopped short and were like, yeah, but no prostitutes. I think that, I think they'll probably keep it in. Yeah, I mean, behold. Make It Rain Mondays. That's the name of the event. Make It Rain Mondays. Oh man. Let's see. Nick, thank you for the $7 Canadian. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 seems under a lot of fire this year, like more than usual for a COD game. Are people finally getting tired of Activision's bull? No, I think they say this every year. Maybe I'm just used to it and I tune it out, but I feel like every year everybody's saying this is the worst COD ever. With this one, it seems people really like COD Black Ops 6. It seems like there was way more negativity than like with Vanguard, for example. So I don't think that anything new is happening. I mean, I think it's just same old, same old. Call of Duty is hilarious because it is an example of a franchise in a game that everybody who plays it says they hate it. but they spend thousands of hours playing it. It's really weird. So weird. I think there's a lot of Warzone players quitting and moving on, but that's more of a Warzone thing. It's almost like Warzone is its own little bubble. Edwin, thank you for the 5. For me, the problem with AC Shadows is the problem with Ubisoft games. Oh yeah, I just read that one. Wilfredo, thank you for the 5. What sort of changes would Ubisoft do if Shadows is successful? Changes if it's successful. I mean, I think you'll just see continuing doubling down on Assassin's Creed. I think you'll see more of that. I think you'll see, I think they'll put a lot more effort into the Black Flag remake. I think you'll see them really, really double down on AC because it's the only thing making the money. If it's not successful, then you'll see Tencent come in. And I don't think they'll have much of a choice. I don't think they'll have the money to keep things afloat. But it sounds like Yves Guillemot, if he really is willing to let the ship sink in order to retain control, he could very well lay off half the company before he lets go of the reins. It could be that he's just like, I'm never going to quit. I will die in this chair. In which case, okay, it's up to you. It's your choice. Let's see. And then Sumaya, I think for that one, could Yves Guillemot, if he wanted to retire and stay a shareholder and anoint someone else as CEO like Bill Gates and Microsoft? Yeah, like he could stay on as president and then he could, or chairman of the board or something, and then put somebody else in charge. But again, it's like I described earlier, the problem for Ubisoft is that it's not just Yves. It's the company culture of the family. So the only way you can deal with it is if you get rid of everybody, if you clear it out and you deal with it. But I don't think they're going to do that. So even if Yves goes away and promotes Alejandro, I don't think it fixes anything. I just, because all of these other underlings, all of his nephews and brothers and sisters and cousins, all of them still work in the company. And I just don't think that magically fixes anything. Ubisoft having 20,000 employees is insane. I mean, I think it's like 17,000, 18,000. Yeah. In September of 2023, it had 19,410, down from 20,279 in 2022.
Now a member. Hey Luke, driving back from a family trip to Georgia. Looking forward to watching the VOD once my daughter gets her fill of tea. Swift and falls asleep.
That's funny. Stay strong, my friend, listening to Taylor Swift. Stay strong. I couldn't do it. I know it makes me a boomer, but every damn time I hear Taylor Swift on the radio, I have to turn it off. I can't. I'm such a boomer. I know, but it's just who I am. It's my life. It's who I am. But yeah, I mean, they have a ridiculous number of studios, 45 locations in 30 different countries. Yeah, I mean, they have a crazy number of employees for what they do. And as I've said a bunch, there's many industry analysts way smarter than me who have said a bajillion times that they think Ubisoft should have about half of the employees they do for the amount of money they bring in. And I mean, at that point, what are we doing? Oh, you know what we have to do to wrap up the stream? Because I've got to work this sounds weird. I have to work my throat back up because when I take some time off streaming, my throat is not used to talking that long. And so I'll lose my voice if I talk too long. So I think we finish with this because this seems appropriate. What? Let's do this. Oh, thank you, Surreal Guild. Thank you. Tier 1. Booyah. Thank you. New segment. What would you guys say was like the game we talked about most last year? At least it felt like it. You know, we talked about it a ton. It was an endless stream of content, tons of just terrible choices. Yeah, Brandon, I think you're right. Suicide Squad by far. Concord was a flash in the pan. Like, it came out of nowhere, it blew up, and like a dying star, it shined bright, but then it was gone. But Suicide Squad, we covered pretty much from start to finish the entire year. We started covering it in January really heavily, and then all through the year, we talked about it. It's officially over. And because they only had 1 year, they didn't finish the entire story arc because it was supposed to be like 13 seasons, I think. There were supposed to, or 12 seasons, 13 total Brainiacs, 1 in the base game, and then 1 for each like seasonal update. But they only got through 4 of those. And as a result, they didn't really have the opportunity to tie up the story or explain what happened, or what would go on to happen, because that was supposed to play out over the next couple of years. It was one of the stupidest things about Suicide Squad is that they had this story that you would maybe find intriguing if you got in like a really severe car accident and maybe suffered brain damage or something. And as a result, like they had all of these cliffhangers. They had all these potential twists that you could see from a mile away. You knew what they were going to try to do. And then it just didn't go anywhere.
Scott Hale is now a member.
Scott, thank you for being a member. Appreciate you. Well, here it is. Synth Potato collected the clip for us so we don't have to. What a Chad. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League's live service story has concluded with a 2D cutscene that has Harley Quinn explain the ending, because they couldn't afford to actually do it. This is how they did all the cutscenes, but even this one, the art seems to be a bit lower quality. It seems like it's maybe a little more rushed. There's not as much detail in it. So let's see how Suicide Squad ended.
So we phased our butts into Brainy's lair and he was steamed. But guess who else showed up?
Brainiac, that's enough. Kryptonian, you're indubitably too discombobulated to fight. Don't you know, Brainiac? Anything's possible with a little help from your friends.
Thought he meant us for a second, but of course he meant bats. Kapow! That says the criminals. That's us. Did well following his plan. So how'd we figure out Brainy had cloned the League?
So they did clone all of the Justice League. And so that's how they could justify killing off Batman, is because it was a different Batman. And he could kill off Superman because it was a different Superman. It's just about as stupid as you could expect. It's the equivalent of going, it was all a dream. You know, it's crazy.
We were like, there were clones? Anyway, we totally laid it out. If we took him back, Waller would make them into even bigger tools. More importantly, she'd totally 86 us. Soup said the League needs to atone for everything that happened. Starting with freeing all the folks Brainy tentacle napped, then putting as many worlds right as they can. As for us, we had a plan too. Did I mention the Wonder Trio are packed? Lawless and Toy Boy shorted out our bombs? That's important for the next part. At the end of the day, this squad sticks together. Why not do it out there in the Elseworlds instead of a freaking prison block? Road trip! Don't you love a happy ending? Even Waller gets to say she saved the world. And she will, if she knows what's good for her. Suicide Squad out!
That's the entire thing. Like I can see what they were thinking, where they're like, hey, yeah, because you killed Batman, and then the big surprise is that he was cloned, and Superman's actually still alive, and Batman's still alive, and everything's okay. But I'm sure this would have just been another reskin boss fight, and that's all it would have been. And then you go to like short out the bombs in your neck, and I just like, you can tell that this was on the whiteboard in the office for what they were gonna do. But it's just so insane that they thought that they could just kill off Batman, wait 3 years, and then explain away that actually he was cloned. Like, I feel like if you're going to do a plot twist like that, that takes 2 to 3 years to play out, you've got to like, there's got to be some bigger hook or crazier reveal or something to just be like, Batman died. Nuh-uh. Like, that's just, it's not what it needed to be. There was no way this was ever going to be that satisfying. And now seeing it, you know, you'd hope that we'd look at this and be like, wow, I kind of wish they would have had the chance to show us and actually explore this. No, I'm like, thank God they didn't spend 2 years trying to do this. Like, Jesus Christ. It's unbelievable. Like, it really is one of those games that makes you just look at it and wonder, like, was I crazy for liking, like, Arkham City? Was I crazy for liking Arkham Knight? Like, how did those people make this? How did we end up here? I genuinely am baffled. But the reason we're reporting is that Rocksteady has experienced some new layoffs. There are people still working on the Hogwarts Legacy director's cut or whatever, and I don't remember if they said that they got approved for their own game or if they were just pitching it. Last I heard from Jason Schreier in his report in June, they were pitching it, preparing a pitch, but who knows? Toxic positivity work culture? No, apparently Wheel of Time, like what Jason Schreier described in his report, as I recall, was a culture of perfectionism and then a lack of clear direction was primarily the problem. There were a lot of choices made by like the game director and studio founders, Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker, where they were like, hey, we want to have this like open world and we're going to build these tank vehicle things that players can customize. And that's going to be really badass and cool. And so they spend a ton of time building these systems out in the game. And it's not easy. It's not cheap to do that. But they did it. And then they realized, hey, this doesn't make any damn sense. Like, at all.
Gene Starwind is now a member. Warner gotta be pissed about Marvel Rivals popping off.
Yeah, probably. They're probably calling NetEase, being like, hey, can you make one for us? But I'm sure there's limitations there. But like this, they built these cars, these tank things. And then they realized, hey, it doesn't make any damn sense if we have characters who can fly, who can leap, who can swing through the air. We focus on all these movement mechanics. Why would they drive tanks around? How does that make any sense? And so they backed off of it and they decided, let's still keep that in the game. We'll just use it for like a different mode, like a different mission type where you can use them. And then the car, like the tank will blow up and then you've got to hop out and fight normal or whatever. But that, like, this was all wasted time. They didn't need to do this, but they spent a ton of time working on it, apparently. It's also pretty clear they probably had a loot box system at some point with the crates that come in at the end of missions that very clearly look like loot boxes. And those were almost certainly scrapped after the first reveal debacle, and they undid that as much as they could. There was also I believe in the original game trailer they had, what was it? It was like a power score, item score, or something like that. I don't see it. But there was something like that, like basically a total power value that could tell you how powerful your loadout was and everything. And all that got walked away from. And, you know, it was just clear that this was a game that I don't know why they made it. I think they made it because they probably were thinking that it was going to be easy money and they were going to pop off. And it was going to be, you know, a retirement fund for the studio founders. And then they just started searching for a way to turn it into something fun, but it didn't start with a clear concept, because the idea of having like King Shark with a machine gun doesn't make sense to begin with. Like, why wouldn't he bite people? Like, what are we doing? The concept never made any sense. Whereas that Dawnwalker trailer, and you hear the pitch of the Dawnwalker game. Oh, that sounds cool. You like the pitch. With this, the pitch never made any sense. It's a 4-player co-op looter shooter with superhero characters, and we're gonna have like 5 different enemies total for the entire game, and it's just gonna be the same missions over and over again. Like, no part of this made any sense at all at any point. But you know, we have those t-shirts on the merch store that say hype makes you stupid. The other thing that makes people stupid is live service money. The idea of live service money makes studio executives so freaking dumb, because they're willing to do anything and waste hundreds of millions of dollars because they think maybe, just maybe, we'll get a taste of that Fortnite style money and it'll all be worth it. And it makes them stupid, because this should have been shut down 5 years ago. Even when we saw these trailers initially, we were like, okay, it's a little different. But I remember seeing this trailer and we were like, there were the rumors that, and leaks and stuff saying this was going to be a 4-player co-op looter shooter. And we were like, really? That's what Rocksteady's been doing? And we were frustrated because that's not what we liked from them. But it's Rocksteady. I'm sure they'll pull it off. They're Rocksteady. They're really good at what they do. And then this thing where you see Superman killing some dude. It's crazy hardcore. But man, what a waste. This whole story, the story of Suicide Squad, is one of just bumbling incompetence of an idea that didn't make any damn sense at any point. Of a studio that was not equipped for this kind of game, of a publisher that was so hungry for live service money that they were willing to just go along with anything, even when it very clearly needed to be redone and reworked. And it was an avoidable disaster. I mean, they didn't need to lose $200 million on this, but at some point, somebody should have been able to see that this wasn't going to work. And yet nobody did that. Nobody made that decision. Some people say that it's, you know, a culture of toxic positivity. Maybe that's a part of it. But more than toxic positivity, I'm not sure if that's what was at play here. I think this was that the live service money put blinders on and they just lost all sight of it. It's the same thing that happened with Concord. Where with Concord, some of those character designs.
Tire 2 is now a member.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Tier. With Concord, I think there was an element of toxic positivity because some of those character designs, the fact that nobody said anything for making a character that looks like they're walking around in a garbage can, like, come on. But with this specifically, I think it was just an example of nobody wanting to say, hey, I just don't think this concept will connect with players. I think we're going to waste money and time on it. Nobody would say that, because if it was successful, it was going to make $1 billion. Same thing with Concord, you know, hey, if it's successful, it's going to make $1 billion and it'll all be worth it. It'll all be worth it then. But very heavy blinders. You can't just summon up Fortnite. Yeah, you can't. And it takes years and years to build that up. It takes years and years to earn the trust of players and to earn the spending of players. And nothing drives people more insane than when you are transparently trying to milk them dry. It's why the new thing, I don't know if you guys saw this, Apex is apparently going to start selling mythic skins for grenades. Like mythic skins for your grenades. At that, like, at this point, are we going to start selling skins for shrapnel too? Like, are we just that out of ideas? It's like, well, what if we did skins for wall? We do skins for walls. Wouldn't surprise me if they'll start doing skins where you can buy like posters in the game and it decorates the buildings that you run through. Things like that. Bullet skins. Yeah, you can't technically see them, but they're there. We promise. You know, like you're seeing it with the Apex community. They're getting really fed up. Thank you, Really Fat Cat.
Hello. Hope your day is going swimmingly. See the Dawnwalker trailer?
Oh yeah, we looked at it earlier on stream. Looks fantastic. I'm here for it. And I'm hoping they do like a full gameplay reveal over the summer. Like not just like a little snippet. I hope we see a lot of gameplay because I'm thoroughly intrigued. I'm thoroughly intrigued. COD has bullet skins, tracers. Oh God, you're right, Leo. Dude, they are. Okay, well, there you go. Yep. Shoot. I was trying to think of the most ridiculous thing I could think of, but I guess they've already technically done it. Oops. Well, there you go. What you gonna do? They beat us to it, boys. Yeah, we're not as brilliant as we thought we were. That's crazy. Okay. So, fam, I'm so glad to be back. It's been a long, arduous vacation, but I'm back rocking and rolling. We're going to get back into the swing of things, especially as stuff starts to kind of ramp up. We've got a lot to talk about, you know, over the next couple of months. There's going to be a lot. I have something cool over like in a couple days that we're going to do. So we'll do that. But I'm glad to be back. I missed you all. I was going so freaking stir crazy not being able to talk about games because I was around people that don't play games. Like I was going crazy. But I'm glad to be back. Back tomorrow. So here's the tricky bit. I mentioned that I'm like they're doing all this work in the studio. Part of the reason why I have to end the stream is because I have the HVAC guys. They're coming in and like doing AC stuff because they're putting in mini splits and stuff. So like they're going to have this wall torn open up here above the window and they're going to be putting the thing in and it's going to be a little disruptive. So I won't be able to stream here. My goal is I have a backup plan that I think I'm going to do. It won't be at our regular time, but I have a backup plan. So don't you worry, but we will be back. We will be rocking and rolling. It's going to be good. If you've not seen it yet, go watch the Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 video on the main channel, the big channel, I should say. Really, I just want to talk about that game all day, every day, because I'm excited for it and it's Gucci. So we'll do that. Reviews for that will go up, I think still 2 weeks from now, 2-3 weeks from now, because they sent out codes a month early, which is unheard of, but they did that, which is awesome. And beyond that, what else? Yeah, there's just a lot of good stuff. I'm sure my brain is just fried. Podcast tomorrow. I'm waiting to hear back from Jor on the exact plan, because I think Jor is more schedulely constrained than me at this particular moment. But we'll either do it tomorrow or maybe Thursday. We could do something. So I think we've got that. Xbox Direct next week. Yeah, there's going to be a lot to talk about because allegedly we're going to get a Switch announcement Thursday and we're going to get like an Xbox Direct next week. And then we're going to be starting to hear more previews and reviews for February games. I think Monster Hunter is going to be sending out stuff probably in like the next few weeks. You're going to start to see previews, the final preview or whatever. They're going to start doing that stuff. So we're in the home stretch. We're in the home stretch before things start to really ramp up. So just you wait. Just you wait. Jor has too many friends. Dude, for real, you're telling me. So yeah, buckle up. But anyway, thank you guys so much. You guys are wonderful. Steel Bones, thank you for the 5. Quietly sweeps up Wonder Woman's ash pile in the background. Yep, everyone gets happily ever after. Yeah, except Wonder Woman. She's off for the spin-off game they're doing. Yeah, that whole thing. That is also another game that's just missing. That's the other thing, is that Wonder Woman game from what is it? Not Massive. What is that? A Motive? No. What is the name of that studio? Monolith. Thank you. Monolith. Yeah, that game is just MIA. That's supposed to be out like 2 years ago. And it's just gone. Like nobody knows where it is. It's crazy. Anyway, we'll talk about that more. Because I think there will be stuff to talk about relatively soon. So buckle up. Much love, everybody. I will see you again soon. Thanks for hanging out with me. Much love, hugs and kisses. Bye-bye. I've missed you. I'm so glad to be back.